We love the puppies. We also love Sanford, Florida, and the historic L Walk between West End Trading Company and Celery City Craft, and that's where you're going to go to be a part of Pints and Paws Craft Beer Festival 2020.
Absolutely. Over 100 different beer samples, a bunch of vendors, pet-friendly, bring your pets, all for a great cause. Dolly's Foundation, Pet Rescue by Judy.
100% of the proceeds go to help out these guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a real, authentic charity event.
Absolutely. And like I said, a bunch of different beers. If you want to go to downtown Sanford and walk around, drink some beers, help out great cause, bring your dogs, you can get your tickets at pintsandpaws.com. Get them early, save some money, or grab that VIP ticket, pintsandpaws.com.
Welcome to another A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I am Dan.
I'm Tom.
You want to know something super impressive?
What?
Is that when we start the show, I can hear Samantha never not working.
Yeah.
Never not working. Do you know that she's almost booked? March is booked.
Yeah,
we're done.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's
so I just got to throw you some compliments. I got to give you some love. I can hear your fingers over the. She's
I'm killing myself.
She's
though.
booking bands, and she's fighting with the book and the bands, and then she's emailing this guy, and then she's got to email Tony and say, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about." Right? It's pretty accurate. It's pretty accurate. But hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Anything to get into right now before we have a guest on the line? It's somebody that I know that you wanted to talk to. They actually have completed something that I would imagine across the globe, not just in America, but mainly in America, is very important and quite an achievement.
Yeah, but also because they've been in the news recently, the Boy Scouts of America, and it's just the Boy Scouts, right? Are they? Does the Boy Scouts Corporation or whatever that is? Maybe it's a nonprofit. I don't know. Are they also in charge of the Girl Scouts?
I think it's separate.
Yeah, no,
totally
they're all separate.
Okay, so the Boy Scouts. Now I don't know the full story, and I apologize.
They have to keep them separate, or they'd have the Baby Scouts.
But there's been a bunch. I mean, they've gone through their fair share of bad press and publicity with the. They are at first like, oh, we're not letting. Homosexuals become scout leaders.
Some could say that they made some questionable choices, right?
Which it's funny because apparently the entire Boy Scouts was riddled with pedophiles and like sexual abuse cases and stuff, and it kind of went the route of like the Catholic Church.
I was going to say,
the organization tried to keep it quiet and and instead of opening it up and trying to clear it out, they were worried more about their reputation.
You try to save face. You try to make sure that the whole thing doesn't crumble.
And it's a shame because I believe that the whole organization and the idea of the Boy Scouts is a quality idea.
It's good, yeah.
That without obviously the pedophiles and
I can blanket statement this one. Everything's better without pedophiles.
You know what? We're gonna Tom and Dan. Put that on our next shirt.
Everything is better without pedophiles.
Yeah. We're going to offend some pedophiles.
Yeah. Well, hey.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Can't offend anybody.
I shoot from the hip. Here's what I say about pedophiles. Can't vote. These pedophiles, they come over here, they take all our jobs.
Yeah.
These pedophiles have their pants sagging down where I can see their ass crack their damn rap music.
I know I'm going to get some emails, and
pedophiles don't have email,
and it's going to be a little bit of backlash,
allowed, right?
But I'm going to go. I'm going to go ahead and say it.
I know
they're all over Twitter.
I know well, I mean, if you've been convicted, I think they take away some of your digital privileges, right? Like I know a lady.
I don't think you can go on social media.
Yeah, I know a teacher who slept with a student. I've talked about this before, and I don't think I can ever talk to her about it. I'd love to, and just be like, "What the hell? How do you go down that road?"
You're a pedophile.
But she did. She is a pedophile, and she got convicted. And then she, she's not allowed on the Facebooks. She doesn't have the emails. None of that. They're like, "No, if you need to send a letter, you got to send a letter. You got to write it down and put it in
old school.
Put it in the old post office." And I don't even think you ought to be allowed that.
Here's a hot take.
No communication.
Pedophiles, bad people. I'm going to go ahead and say
All
it.
right. Boy,
That's your
you
hot
are.
take. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pushing the edge here. I don't hope we don't lose
This
some
might
sponsors.
be one hot take I can stand
I'll
by.
I'll go one step further. Punch him in the nose.
Well,
All right, I mean,
Right in the kisser.
execution.
All right.
Oh, too far. No.
we won't make up for it now.
So anyway,
The intro that we're giving our guest is probably scaring him away.
is he still on the line?
I can check.
Well,
are you still on the line?
I am.
Oh,
Oh, he's there. Okay,
Well,
he's a brave man.
and this is these instances, obviously the vast majority of the organization and the people that went through the Boy Scouts had a good experience or a positive experience, and helped them throughout their lives and helped mold their futures. And
I got some buddies that loved it, and the program was wonderful for them.
because the idea is great. It's like you have some mentors, you get some kids out,
team building, camaraderie, skills,
and maybe in the wilderness and nature, and they learn some different skills, and like you said, all those important things in life. Plus, you're mentored, hopefully, by a responsible older adult that kind of helps mold you and make you come into your own and become a responsible adult. And that's great, and all that, and hopefully, there's other programs that take over for Boy Scouts of America, because I just think it's gone too far, and they're going to have to dissolve, and then other programs will have to come in its wake.
Have to pivot.
So, but I wanted to talk to someone who became an Eagle Scout, just because with all this Boy Scout talk, no one ever, everybody's talking about all the negative, but I had a buddy that I went to as Eagle Scout, Pudge.
Pudge. Of course he's an Eagle
Samantha's
Scout.
obsessed with Pudge. Can we get Pudge in here?
Yeah, well, he lives in Miami.
No, but he never visits.
No,
you know what?
He just real man works all the time.
I'm gonna write him on email, and I'm gonna tell him. I got room. He can stay next to the studio. We need some Pudge in our life.
But
Pudge up your life.
He's a year younger than I am, so because I met his brother's turkey leg, and so Pudge was always the little brother that like kind of
you realize that sounds like a children's book that you need to write.
Turkey leg and Pudge.
Yeah, it does. In fact, add that to the stories you tell your sons. But
turkey leg skinny.
Yeah.
Pudge a bigger guy.
Yeah.
Turkey leg could eat no fat. Pudge could eat no lean.
He made it to Eagle Scout, and we went to the ceremony, like me, Turkey Leg,
were
the
you making
wizard.
fun of it, or were you respectful?
No, it's funny because of all the things. Like even at that age, we were 18, he was 17, I think.
You were respectful,
and like we were like, this is cool. Like
I'm surprised you did that at 18.
You
showed up.
Yeah,
I mean, I paint myself in
at 37. You can't even show up to drink a beer with Samantha on the 3-year anniversary of our podcast. But you can show up for
my wedding.
Pudge's flag ceremony.
I got worse. I
spiraled out of control.
I was like Tommy. I started off as Tommy.
Really?
Yeah. I was a patrol, like followed the rules, always A's in conduct, never got a detention. Still, like in high school, never got a detention, never got a anything.
What's sad about that is there's two ways you can go there. It's like either you never got a detention because you were a really good kid, or you never got a detention because you just didn't matter.
Or you didn't get caught.
Like you weren't get caught. No, you just weren't on you weren't on the radar. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I
fly under the radar.
I don't mean that in a negative term of like you didn't matter. I mean like you're just kind of cruising along, doing your thing.
Yeah. I don't care about rules or laws either, which is weird. Anyway, so mainly it's just the awkwardness of getting caught. It all goes back to avoiding awkwardness. Anyway, Scott's on the line, and Scott is an Eagle Scout. How you doing, Scott?
Good, Tom.
Can we call you Eagle Scott? Because he's an Eagle Scout.
Whatever you want, Dan.
Okay.
So, Scott, I'm sure
he already knows the equation. He's like, Tom's going to ask the question. Yeah. Dan's going to be stupid.
You've seen in the news all the stuff the Boy Scouts are going through. And
are you a pedophile?
My God.
No.
Okay, good. We got that out of the way.
All right,
Did you know any while you were...
I had to go to the doctor yesterday for my allergies, and you were right, dude. The second to last question on my form was, do you have HIV? And I'm like, wait a minute. Should have started with that one. You're right.
And the thing is...
So I'm just going to get pedophile out of the way.
It's like the Catholic Church or like the Boy Scouts, like 20 pedophiles out of millions. I mean, it's a small percentage, but 20 different pedophiles is too many for any organization, and this should have been stopped, but it's a small percentage of how big the organization is. So most likely the vast majority of all Boy Scouts had no
unfortunately,
interactions with pedophiles.
Unfortunately, though, for pedophiles, or fortunately, you should say, it's in the title of the place, Well, it's like if I want a hamburger,
it's
Steak and Shake. If I want a milkshake, it's in the name. That's where it go.
You're creating an environment that attracts a certain person, and if a certain person's nefarious or a pedophile, whatever,
and scarves. They like scarves with a little metal thing that holds the scarf
and pins.
Yeah, a lot of badges and pins.
Bling.
Did you have the little metal thing that you pulled your scarf through, sir?
Well, it's a neckerchief is what you would call the scarf. And we actually had used shotgun shells that we'd use instead of the metal thing.
Oh,
that is redneck.
So Scott, what was your...
I like that.
Let's go back to your experience with the Boy Scouts and then your journey into becoming an Eagle Scout, because most Boy Scouts, they go through like the Webelos. I think...
The names, right? The names.
I think I
don't even know what that is.
You don't know what a Webelo is?
No.
My mom took me to a Boy Scout meeting.
I went to a Webelo meeting.
And it was like Webelos, and it was at elementary school, and I went there.
By the way, if you're ever pulled over, never blow.
And even back then, I was like, this seems like not my thing.
It was at the church.
Too much responsibility, respect.
I went because
the uniform.
Well, most of the meetings were at a church. I already spent a ton of time at the church because my mom was a church organist.
I didn't realize that there was religion involved.
It's a smattering.
It is.
A smattering, yeah. You'd have to say some prayers. But anyway, I just told my dad, I'm like, look, I can't be at the church anymore. Can I do soccer or can I do band or something? Yeah. And they were like, yeah, you can do whatever you want.
So, Scott, when did you start your Boy Scout adventure?
Yeah, so I started as Cub Scout, really, which I guess it goes from Tiger Scouts, Cub Scouts, Webelos, and then Boy Scouts. So I went in when I was 8, and then I was in the Cub Scouts, went to Webelos, went through that, and then went into Boy Scouts.
What the hell is a Webelo?
Yeah, by the way,
no idea.
It's just a bad
Loyal Scout.
It's just a bad name.
You should increase the coolness of whatever your
name is,
your mascot or your group name is.
Why couldn't you have been the Black Vipers? That's cool.
You shouldn't go from Tiger Scout, then you're Cub, which is like a baby bear, which is kind of cool. Then you're like Webelo. Yeah. What the hell is that?
Tracy in our Twitch chat room, she put the listing of them. It goes lions, tigers, wolves, bears, Webelo 1, Webelo 2, polar bear, gay wolf, Chinese fry cook, and then giraffe with goggles. And then you have to go back down, and then you go to hippopotamus. And then the last one you go to is Boy Scouts, then Eagle Scouts, then Eagle Scouts Plus.
Oh, my God.
And then Flamingo Dudes.
So Webelos is an acronym.
Flamingo Dude. If you could get to Flamingo Dudes, you've done it.
Webelos is an acronym for We Be Loyal Scouts.
We Be Loyal Scouts.
So Scott, you worked your way up.
Why isn't it We Are Loyal Scouts?
And so...
Oh, my
God. That'd be Warlos.
How was your experience?
Warlos.
What do you guys even do? Like, do you go on
camping?
Camping adventures or what?
Haven't you seen Bushwhacked?
What's the schedule? I don't even know the schedule.
Yeah, take us through a meeting.
So I'll kind of start from the beginning. So I grew up outside of Philly, so I was more in an urban area. But essentially, we would have weekly meetings during the school year. And you kind of just go, maybe you'd work on some, a merit badge or work on getting to the next rank, talk about the plans for the next camp out, and then that's kind of, usually it was an hour, 2 hours a week.
Pizza party?
Party.
Unfortunately, not many pizza parties. And then...
What? Same.
And then once a month, we would do, a camp out somewhere. So sometimes it would just be... going to the local state park and camping there. Sometimes we'd go to Assateague Island in Maryland.
What would you do?
And all sorts of different things. We'd go
outs?
Skiing sometimes. It all depended on the time of year and what we had planned out for that trip.
Okay.
Now, who was the
Flamingo Dude
scout leaders, and who were the adult supervision provided? How did that work? also, did there have to be two people at all times? Like, because...
Oh, like when you go in your doctor and you got to drop your pants and they make you bring in somebody else.
Well, see, because it seems like the problem is not the actual organization. The organization is built for good, and the organization is built for, like, yes, everything involved in the Boy Scouts seems to be positive. It's like you're learning responsibility, you're doing these things. Like, everything is good. The problem is they just didn't foresee, like, pedophiles and bad people getting into the organization and start, victimizing children, which is horrible. And yes, and when you look higher up, like the organization should have put things into place to safeguard themselves against this, making sure no one's ever alone with kids and things.
Right.
And they didn't, and now it looks like they're going to be done. Not necessarily directly their fault, but what is their fault is their responsibility, and the way they organized their particular organization was flawed, and therefore bad things happened.
Would you say it was difficult to navigate your way through all of your kind of scouting, I guess, awards or ranks?
No. Yeah, so let's kind of, I don't know if it was difficult. I mean, it was just you kind of pieced it by rank to go through it. But kind of to answer Tom's question, so, one, I grew up in the Catholic Church. So I had the double whammy of the pedophiles in the Catholic Church, unfortunately, as well.
Coming to get you.
Did you see anything nefarious, Scott, yourself, or go back and remember as a child, like, oh, this guy was creepy or this guy was weird or anything like that? I mean, statistically, like, again, I say it's rare, but it was scattered throughout these organizations.
Yeah, totally. I actually had a priest that we really liked growing up. Like, he was that fun priest that everyone wanted to be around.
It's always
Turns
the
out
fun
he was
one.
a pedophile.
Yeah.
And
I want to be your friend.
And he was a pedophile?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Like, I didn't have anything happen with me, but he was in charge of, like, the altar boys, and I was an altar boy, and it may have happened, like, 10 or 15 years before, like, I met him, but it was one of those, like, he was around, and then, like, all of a sudden he disappeared, and then, 5, 10 years later you read the newspaper, and he's listed in the newspaper as a pedophile.
Whoa.
Oh, man.
Maybe it was more common than I thought. I mean,
the
sad
thing is if you have the power to make yourself disappear, you would imagine that you would use that for good and not bad.
Yeah, well, you would think, but he ended up writing for the Cardinal of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, so they kind of promoted him. It was just a weird hiding thing. So
yeah.
Very against pedophiles in these organizations, and I think everyone needs to be a little bit more transparent than they are. But in terms of the Boy Scouts, we had our scoutmaster was in the troop when he was a kid, went through with his brothers, and then he came back to kind of like lead us. So you'd have like one scoutmaster and then maybe an assistant scoutmaster. And then it was really the youth that would kind of lead and supervise each other. So
based on rank, right? Like, so higher ranks would help.
The older kids would watch over the younger kids.
Yeah, for the most part, right? So your younger kids are probably going to be, what's called a tenderfoot or second-class scout. And then, as they progress, then they will become a patrol leader. Those kids are usually like 14 years old. And then the oldest kids are like 16, 17, 18. Those are usually your Life Scouts or Eagle Scouts.
Oh, Life Scout. Never heard Life Scout before. What's a Life Scout?
It's a rank. Oh. So the ranking goes tenderfoot, second class, first class, Life, Eagle. And so you have to...
Tenderfoot.
Oh.
Tenderfoot,
okay.
Which is, by the way, I mean, you guys aren't helping yourselves. I mean, if a pedophile is outside and I'm like, hey, just cooking some tenderfoots in my air fryer, he's going to come running in. It sounds delicious.
So, Scott, would you say like your overall experience with the Boy Scouts was positive, and you looking back through your adult eyes, would you say that it was beneficial to your
character?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. So it was, beneficial. I had a great experience doing it. I did a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have done normally just growing up in the suburbs. And then in my adult life, this is the only thing that you can take from your childhood and then apply it into your adult life in terms of even just putting on an application. If you apply for a job, someone sees Eagle Scout, they say, you know what, there aren't a lot of Eagles. This person has dedication and commitment. I'm probably going to hire that over someone else that's not an Eagle Scout.
Wow.
Yeah, I've heard that. Then when my buddy got his Eagle Scout, that's what they were saying.
Pudge.
Like, yeah, he
Pudge Eagle, as I call him.
like
You refer to him by his name, sir.
This is something you could put on your resume that people kind of like the military
Is that still relevant now, though?
I think so.
yeah, because it should.
Yeah.
It might be. Think about this. What if it's more relevant now because there's less of them? Because
the organization
and
being
also
dissolved.
everything's so digital now that getting outside and actually doing things to earn like a rank is pretty rare. Military, police, scouts.
Yeah,
Were there like crappy kids in the Scouts?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you
So it
kinda
doesn't
weed them out,
necessarily
though.
mean you're a good kid and you're
Well,
responsible.
so
or
there can be
anything.
trash kid Eagle Scouts.
They probably don't make it to Eagle if they're trash kids.
Gotcha.
Like, usually those crappy kids
Well,
will
guess who
hang
didn't
around for
make
a little
it?
bit and then leave.
Butler.
I mean, we were kind of like the pot-smoking troop. But, real trash kids usually leave after a year or two because their parents want them in it. But just to throw out a number, only like 4% of all scouts become Eagle. Wow. So it's a really small number of people that actually make that rank.
Do you still get together and talk to any of your fellow Eagles?
A lot of them are like lifelong friends. So, yeah, the ones I became real close with, I still talk to. But we kind of have that bond, I guess. And a lot of us that went through that program and became Eagle, our adult lives kind of brought us to different places. Most of us don't live in the suburbs of Philadelphia anymore. I moved up into northern Vermont. I have a friend that is an Eagle Scout. He lives across the mountain from me. And then we have people in like Rhode Island that lives on an island, and then someone that lives in Seattle near the mountains in Seattle.
Okay.
What do you have to do to become an Eagle Scout? Because I know there's a certain amount of community service, and there's a lot of things you have to complete to
There's
even.
like a project you have to do, right?
Yeah. How does that work?
Yeah, so you have to get 20, I think it's 21 merit badges, which a merit badge teaches you something, right? So one was like car repair, so you learn basic car repair. One would be wilderness survival, camping, et cetera. And then you have to have Eagle Project, which is so many hours. I forget how many hours it is. I think it's, probably like 50 hours of community service doing this one project that you kind of have to write a project plan for, get it approved, do it, take photos, and then once you do all that, then you have to go in for what's called a board of review, and you sit with a scoutmaster, another adult, and then someone from like the district office, and they pretty much quiz you on your knowledge.
Was there any hazing or anything that you had to do? Like one of my favorites is you're doing sit-ups and then the person pulls their pants down, and then for the last sit-up you go all the way up right. You're eating the you know what it is.
So, yeah.
Is any of that?
No, none of that. I mean, the only hazing that sometimes you have the older kids just pick on the younger kids a little bit, but the only hazing would be like kids that you didn't like. You just try to haze them out, I guess.
Did any little kid ever pee his pants on a camping trip and then you hit him over the head with a stick?
No, but, at summer camp, the little kids don't want to shower because they're like open showers.
That's you, Tom.
Oh,
Well, there's also pedophiles running rampant.
Maybe they're just really smart.
Maybe they are, but so we would take what, it's
Eagle Scout, get in there and strip that kid down.
Oh, no.
I'm going to use like the politically correct term, but
Please.
they're like, we call them like a Native American fire hose. So essentially it was like a super soaker made of metal. And then you would just soak the
You
kids
called
with
it a
soap
Native
on, and
American fire hose? So you guys are racist, too?
Hold on,
A bunch of
my
racist
God.
pedophiles.
then- Yeah.
So you call it Indian fire hose?
it Native-
What is it?
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, that's right.
I tried that last night. It blew my wife's headdress off.
Yeah, there's a lot of cultural
So you
appropriation
hose down
in Boy
children?
Scouts.
Wait, we skipped over that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So think
okay.
of a super soaker, right? Like a big super soaker that the tank would go on your back.
helping.
And then you'd pump the water out. Then we kind of make sure the kids would get washed.
So the little kids that didn't want to shower, you would strip them nude and put them in a
No,
circle,
we couldn't
and then
strip them
spray
nude.
their
We just
naked
have them
bodies
back
with a
there.
super soaker.
My
Not
God.
You know what? I know what I'm not signing up for.
So,
Yeah,
Scott,
there was no nudity there, but
Oh, okay.
Scott, do you think, because you probably know more and been reading more about the story, like the Boy Scouts of America are going to survive this? I mean, obviously they'd have to do a total overhaul of their procedures and everything. Or do you think they'll dissolve and just other organizations that are like this will pop up in its place because I don't know what you think about it, but it seems to me that the whole operation is a positive experience.
Yeah, I think so.
For kids to go through.
I love the idea of learning wilderness, car repair, or, just standard things that will actually assist you later in life. I like that.
Just the camaraderie of it, the experience, the going.
How many people do you know that can't work with other people because they just never learn that skill?
Oh,
so when they get tossed into the workplace,
they're just horrible adults.
They're just horrible adults because they don't know how to work together.
Yeah, they have no work ethic. They are afraid. There have been tons of things that probably an organization like Boy Scouts could have helped them.
But unfortunately, we know where it went.
So, what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. So there's, I looked at it this morning. I think I saw 1,700 cases, sex abuse cases that are going against them.
Whoa.
I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know how they're structured in terms of their property because if you think about the land that the Boy Scouts have, they have some considerable assets, especially like in Arizona. They have a place called Philmont Scout Camp, and then even near the Pennsylvania-Maryland border, they have a big camp there, and all over they have these huge camps. So in terms of land, I think they could probably cover it. I'm just wondering if they're trying to protect that land by filing that Chapter 11, filing bankruptcy. And it looked like they had all these Norman Rockwell paintings that they'll use to settle the cases in terms of selling those for millions and then trying to pay them off. But I hope it survives. It needs some serious changes, and I think they need to kind of tone down their cultural war. My troop was always in favor of who cares who as long as you're a good person, this is the place you should be. I think opening up to girls is awesome because the Girl Scouts don't really offer the same program. Every program's different. I don't know how you'd implement it because, we were gross kids and gross boys, so I would think that you'd maybe want to have, girl troops versus boy troops, but have them do the same things. But I hope they survive.
I think what's more shocking to me out of all of this is the frequency that pedophiles sell their art collections to pay off their victims. That's insane to me.
Why did the Boy Scouts have a bunch of Norman Rockwell paintings?
Well, I think it's just kind of, Norman Rockwell is all-American. I'm sure he probably gave them a whole bunch.
He used to use the Scouts as almost something, it was almost like a muse, he would draw, like the kid putting on his neckerchief. I'm going to assume, I don't know, Samantha can look it up, but I'm going to assume that maybe he was a Scout.
That's what I was looking at.
And maybe his heart was there, and how sad is that here's this guy that's kind of known for curating the classic American portraits of how our entire nation came to be, and now it's tarnished.
Or the money of his...
Yeah, it's sad, man.
Of selling his paintings will go to cover or go to the victims of this abuse that happened. Do you think there's a way to vet people? Now, obviously, you can't know someone's intentions and know if they're sick mentally. Obviously, it's a sick mental disease being a pedophile. Obviously, it's hard to really screen people out 100%. Obviously, if you have any sort of past criminal convictions, you'd be out. But really, there's ways to do it with multiple people always being together and things. The doctor's offices do it. There's tons of organizations that have protected themselves using these procedures, and they could do that, right?
Yeah, I think those procedures were in place in the mid-'90s. I remember having a specific meeting about making sure that it was never one adult and one child in the same room by themselves. So I think that they could do it. It's just, I think they need to get away from the idea of that only gay people are going to be the ones molesting the kids. Right. I think that's such a false thought and hurtful.
Yeah.
So they need to kind of get away from that. And, I think, if they made training and made sure that the Scouts had a voice, I think that they would be able to. I read an op-ed from another Eagle Scout that got his, he's much older and got his Eagle Scout, I think, in the 50s. But he pretty much said the same thing. When he was a Scout, when I was a Scout, the idea was that you were taught to speak up. When something was wrong, you spoke up. But he would go and interview, other troops and maybe affiliated with a religion, and these kids were taught not to speak up, and that's where the problem lays, where you kind of instill fear in kids and don't give them a voice. And I think if the scouts do it right and make sure you have the screening process in place, get rid of these silly falsehoods, and just make sure that the kids have a voice and know that it's okay to speak up and give them options on who to speak to, I think that things could change. It just depends on how they want to move forward.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with your cultural warfare comment earlier. We were talking about how they're going to have to kind of dial it back and kind of evolve.
Of course,
they're not.
So, last question: do the scout leaders or the people, do they get paid at all? Or is it completely all volunteer?
It's completely all volunteer, and a lot of times they spend their own money. I went on a huge backpacking trip in California, and the scoutmaster had to buy his own gear. We had to buy our own gear and airfare. So it can be costly. So it's definitely out of pocket.
I think that's where the problem lies, in the fact that if you're just looking for volunteers, it's a job that you have to be really
you have to be
passionate
ignited.
about.
Yeah, you have to be filled with passion.
Because think how hard it is as an adult. Like I'm the dad of a 4 and 5 year old, right? I can imagine when they're a little bit older, 6 and 7. I mean, they're hard enough to deal with right now, and when they're older, with a bunch of them. I've been to their class before. These bunch of kids. I'm like, oh my God! I look at their teachers. Like, how do you do this? Like, this is insane. So I don't know anybody.
You don't tell them that, do you?
That would want to. I don't even know who they are. I don't know.
There you go.
Who would want to volunteer to do this unless you're really passionate about it?
Tracy does it. Tracy volunteers.
No, I know, but
in our Twitch chat room.
I'm saying it's few and far between to find a person. Would you do it, Daniel? Like, would anybody here?
I don't even want kids.
Yeah. Like to volunteer.
The only way I'd do it is if my daughter looked into my eyes and thought it was a good idea and begged me to do it, and I'd do it.
Yeah,
and you would too. But would I want to do it? Is that the question? No, absolutely. I have no passion there.
Exactly.
Nothing there.
So then there lies the problem where you have not enough people with the good intention passion, and then you got these other people with nefarious intentions.
You almost need some skin in the game where it's a job. They're getting a little bit of dough.
Yes, and then they're like,
they're invested. They're enmeshed in it.
This kind of sucks. Watching all these kids. Some of them are a-holes. Some of them are good.
You need a little bit of that.
But I'm getting paid, so whatever. Sometimes paying someone,
or maybe something as simple as I get a free trip to Colorado to ski with these guys. And that's the trade-off.
Yeah, and they pay me a little bit. So you need to have some people have some other...
It's almost like economical checks and balances or something.
Because if you're just looking for people with passion that want to help strangers...
Tracy's screaming in the chat. She says, I didn't want to do it. You have to when no other parents raise their hands and her kid wants to be a part of it.
Yeah,
see, that's what I'm saying, Tracy. That's exactly what I would do. Of course I don't want to do it, but if Maisie looked me in the eyes and said, I really want to do this, I'd probably do it.
So maybe the people that volunteer to do it without having kids in the group, you're like,
they don't really want to.
You're like, wait a minute. You're like, what are you doing this for?
Yeah. It's like the time I saw that guy.
Like, nobody here should really want to be here. If you do, we're going to
you're the pedophile.
Check this one.
It's like the time you and I went to a kid's birthday party, and we were like, what? And there was a guy that we knew who was at Chuck E. Cheese who had no kids. And we're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. It's always like, Like, you're like, why? Everybody should be miserable here.
Hold on. Get it.
All right, Scott. Well,
hey, great.
Hold on for 1 second, Tom, and I'm sorry. I just want to touch base on that because that's...
He's got a phone gun! I don't even know. I don't know what that is.
A lot of the Eagle Scouts and a lot of the former Boy Scouts want to give back, and just because they don't have kids, it shouldn't be preclude for them not to do that.
No.
You're right, it's tough, but yeah, so I think, you're right there. You want to be cautious, but just because you don't have kids, I mean, I have a 5-year-old, so I'll get back involved when he's a little bit older, but just because you don't have kids doesn't mean that you're not going to be a good person, good scoutmaster, and And there's a lot of people that do want to volunteer their time that have gone.
You made Scott sad.
Yeah,
Scott,
Great job. Why'd you insult my friend Scott, the Eagle Scout?
Scott,
He's working his way to Flamingo, dude.
I know there's plenty of people, especially Eagle Scouts, that want to give back and donate, and there's plenty of
you're backpedaling now.
No, but you gotta agree
Your
with me,
response
Scott.
is too slow, Scouts of America.
If the person doesn't have kids and is not an Eagle Scout, and just check why they're doing
Give
this.
them one more form to fill out. Slow them down a little bit. You got to slow them down a little bit.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying is just make
some balance.
Yeah.
Make sure
Give
their
them a 7-day waiting period.
intentions are pure, and sometimes without any sort of background of Eagle Scout or no kid in the game, and maybe you don't have a background of philanthropy or
and then
volunteering.
at the very end
why
of the
are you doing
interview,
this?
in the very end of the interview, as I'm looking to you and I'm interviewing you, look to your left or right and go, what is that kid doing in here naked? And if the guy turns around, then you go with Tom's choice of get him, and you get him.
I always like a pedophile says what?
That's even better. That streamlines it a little bit.
All right, Scott. Thanks for talking to us, dude.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
See you, man. Well, we lost that listener.
No. He gets what I'm saying. It's just let's look at why these people are volunteering and why they're involved. And, of course, there's... I believe there's way more good people than bad people in the world. And
you've been on this kick lately, man. You're very positive now.
I'm not positive. I'm a realist. If I saw that there was way more bad people than good people, I would say the opposite. I truly believe that people are good, and that
I like positive Tom.
We hear about the bad people all the time because that's what makes news. You hear negativity, you hear bad news stories, you hear negativity because that's what sells. I mean, honestly, that's what's funny in comedy. Did
you know that it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile?
I know you. You know what? I'm negative again.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
Let's take a break. We'll come back with more A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan right after this.
Welcome back to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan.
I'd like to build this cast of characters.
You like to build our mediocre.
I'm kind of like a
puppet
builder.
Master.
No,
you're like a grand conductor of humans. You do a lot of this.
People.
If people can't see this on the radio, but I'm waving my, and then you do a lot of this,
and
that's the side to side,
like surrounding ourselves with the, we've called them whack packs, but more of
the goal of being a good radio.
Well,
the goal of being a good radio show host, well, it's similar to that. It's not like that. Is that you get the host position, like you and I share. And then you surround yourself with interesting people, and then you just sit back and ruin their lives.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and then
it's way easier.
And then eventually they'll freak out and they won't want to do it anymore, and you'll be like, "This guy's crazy. What's he doing? That is so good."
Yeah. There's more where that came from.
Yeah. And then you just get
I don't know if there's actually more nowadays.
No.
Now people have I have my own podcast, and you're like, wait,
I have a TV show of my own on Twitch. I make $14 million a year.
Or $14.
Yeah, well,
since
that's the one you'll
inception.
abuse, though. That's the one we get.
All right.
Tell people who stopped by, buddy.
Cadillac Pat is here. How you doing, Pat?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good to see you, Pat. How you been, man?
I'm fantastic.
If you don't know who Cadillac Pat is, he is a bartender gentleman, friend of the show that we met, what would you say, like 10 years ago?
2010-ish, 9.
All right, right about 10 years. And then I don't know why we met you. I know that we did meet
I met TC, or when I knew him as Drunky the Bear back then.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for saying that.
Do it. Bring it out.
Are you? Let me ask you a question. It's like I'm Ferris Buellering you, where I speak to the camera. These guys aren't supposed to hear that.
Yeah.
You gonna take that from one of your whack packers? You're gonna let Hank the Angry Dwarf kick you around a little bit. You gonna let that happen?
I'll get him. Yeah, you'll see.
Yes,
you don't remember what happened to Beetlejuice?
You better set up a Simeon contest.
Already nose deflated. Although that whack pack member millionaire.
That's the most disgusting deflate gate I've ever seen. It's real bad.
Pat, I know you. We were talking about your phone that and just to give, like Daniel said, the listeners a little recap, you started dressing like a 90s superhero, and what's your Instagram handle? People can see it.
Oh, it's at Cadillac Pat, one word.
Yep, at Cadillac Pat. You'll see his Instagram filled with him doing a pose, holding a retro phone in different places around the world, and having a good time. And you're doing it because it brings joy to people.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, fun.
And it's fun for you too. I mean, it's not just one-sided. It's not like, it's a give and take here.
People, I just met a girl at the gym the other day because at the gym I'm just dressed like I'm going to the gym, and she is so confused on why I dress like I do.
Yeah. I think the world, because you know what? People have lost track, and this is kind of the theme of like Pat's existence that I think could do good for the world.
Sure.
Not to theme your existence. You know what? If you call the show, I'll theme your existence, and I'll tell you what you exist for.
Okay, I like this.
But people have lost touch with doing things just for the joy of it and just because it makes you happy, and everybody's confused. They're like, why are you doing that?
Including you.
Like, a long time ago.
Yeah, like you only do things for money. No.
Yeah. Money or... no, that's it.
Yeah.
Not even for joy anymore.
No.
And
well, never joy. You don't even understand joy.
So, and then they always think there's some catch to it or there's some reason. Why would someone do this just because they want to have fun? Like, they don't understand. And society's like that, because I'm sure people ask you that. I was curious because when I first saw you, I was like, oh, he's an Instagram like thing now. He's like,
he's an influencer.
Yeah, he's doing this because he wants to get followers and monetize his Instagram. But then it wasn't that. It was, and we talked to you, it was like,
you were really being selfish. You wanted to do it for yourself. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I hate that. You selfish son of a bitch.
No, but also it brings,
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It brings people like a smile to the face when they see it, right?
It makes fun to make other people happy. I really do. I really do like doing that. It's fun.
So, have you ever
even if they're making fun of me? Like,
you ever had any blowback from people that are like, you know what, man? This is whack.
Yeah, people that don't.
I don't know why I said that.
Why would they get mad? Like, you get mad because someone's having a good time.
Yeah, hey, you there over there with the fake StarTAC cell phone having fun? You're whack. That's my new character. His name's Whack Jack.
That's 90s bully.
Yeah.
Biff.
That's Biff.
Yeah, every 90s bully.
That's 90s Whack Jack. He's like, you know what you're doing over there, man? It's not.
So that particular phone, and you started telling us about it. I was like, wait, let's talk about it. What is it now?
It's a Motorola. This is the one that my buddy's dad, the first cell phone I ever remember seeing when I was a kid. My buddy's dad had this phone, walked across like a big window in a house, and we were all like in shock of how he's on the phone talking to his mom that was on the landline in the house, and this was the phone, and I had to have it.
That's brand new, too.
And what year and what's the actual make of that phone?
This looks brand new. It's not brand new, but man, this thing's in really good shape.
Yeah, it's a Motorola. I want to say probably like late, I feel like 89-ish, I feel like, something like that.
Yeah, I can give you some numbers if I
pop
you can pop off here. Tom, this is your Motorola. Wow, this is when they didn't even have names. Yeah, this is the 7717.
God,
that's what that is.
They had that in the 89.
Yeah,
I thought it was a big brick phone.
Well, I have that one too. I think this is like the upgrade from the brick. I feel like.
I'm gonna put myself on.
I feel like that's got to be mid 90s.
Hello. No way.
No way.
Earlier? Would you have pulled the antenna out like that and like hello?
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I like the feeling of that.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's got a nice kind of a feel to it.
And I brought a couple more too. I'll show you another one.
Do you want to see it, Tom?
So yeah. Let me see. This is
pretty cool.
This is the one. This one I found when I was in Georgia. This is the first one that got me into buying the old cell phones. I bought this one at like a thrift store. This one still works. This was in the box, brand new.
That one will work.
This one turns on. I mean, it won't get service, I don't think, but it turns on if it's plugged in.
I think you should try to get service on one.
But I tell people there is, but maybe I shouldn't say that on the radio. Dang it! But
no, I can edit that out. Hold on, make it.
No, I don't care.
I don't want to blow up Cadillac Pat's spot. But
I think that one is the vintage Motorola Piper brick flip phone.
The Piper Brick.
That's what it
I
looks
like it.
I'm finding some on eBay.
Now,
at
this
the
thing,
moment.
you could kill somebody with this Nokia you have. So basically, what Tom and I are holding right now are a novelty. Well, they're not. They're at one time these were the best technology in cell phones you could even buy. And Pat dresses full 90s. He uses 90s cell phones to bring this allure of party 90s to anywhere you go.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
That's basically
Exactly.
what you do.
I'm going to get mad at something for a minute.
Okay.
So
Hot take.
because I'm looking at this phone, I'm like, wow, they had this in '89. Because over 30 years ago, they loosely had the technology. Now I got a personal computing device, a device that does everything.
What we have now, I don't even consider this a phone, only because
computer.
I don't talk on it very often.
Yeah, I never talk on a phone.
But if you think about it, it's not that far from this thing that we
it's
have.
pretty far.
It is far, but 30 years,
you're discounting.
I
apps,
want better
man.
technology.
No, but you're discounting apps.
We should be farther.
You
right?
couldn't make notes in there.
No,
you couldn't
you
play
couldn't.
games in there.
It just
you
made
text
calls
in
Now,
there.
of course, I know, but still. 30 years. Think about where we've
I don't
come
think
in 30
years is a long way,
No.
man.
It's pretty far in technology, right? Think about how fast it
Not
started.
to disagree with your hot take, but I think from looking at that phone to looking at my iPhone in 30 years, I look at that and I go, well done. Nice job. You guys did all right. You did all right.
I'm just saying it could be better.
What
do you want to do?
Everything more.
Everything more.
Because think about it. When iPhone 1 came out,
I think there's only so much you can put on there before then it becomes more of a mind control device and less of a device that you use, right?
I do want it faster though, and I want it to quit telling me I got to delete stuff to upgrade.
Maybe if you'd stop buying old cell phones and buy a new one, you'd be all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that you're going to spend your money on the jacket. You have a different jacket on today.
Oh yeah, and I got people on the hunt for me. I got another friend of mine that's looking for one. He's in Indianapolis. He found one, took a picture of it. He's like, "What's your top dollar on it?" I'm like, I told him I said $30 is my max.
Yeah.
So
what do you spend on most of them? Do you shoot for
they're like 30 to 50?
Because they're very popular now. I noticed that Riff Raff sells a
Are
lot
you
of
getting
stuff.
them from the thrift stores or brand new?
No, they're all vintage. I go to consignment or like vintage shops. Thrift stores, there's too much picking and too many crazy people in thrift stores. I will go into them once in a while, but I don't like thrift stores.
That's half the fun.
Yeah, but consignment shops are also fun because they're already picked through.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing as a thrift store, but just better stuff for still cheap. That's what I am into.
I only sell my handbags and my Doc Martens to decos.
So what you were saying, I will agree with you. Sorry about another one too. This is, I will say, from 1990 to 2003, the technology didn't change at all.
Yeah.
This was my Nextel. I
had this phone.
Me too. This was the first color Nextel they made.
I had this. Dude, I had this
too.
phone.
Me too.
You're freaking me out. I loved
Me
this.
too.
This was a great phone. The Nextel, and I had the, and I'd be like, I'll be right there. Like I that's actually useful. Like, I can still do that on my iPhone now to my wife, right, with an app.
Yeah, it's called...
but it didn't have the fun little button. Check that guy out.
Also, it's a glorified walkie-talkie.
No one really wanted it. And then...
I liked it for...
Me and all my buddies had it.
Like, if you were working an event or something, I mean, that thing's super useful. But really for, like, construction, event people, coordinating, stuff like that.
Walkie-talkie.
Yeah. But, like, better because, like, you could still make calls on it. You could text
unlimited
from it.
Distance. So, Pat, I know that we talked about your book last time, and you've worked in the service industry.
We were reading it too. We read vast majority of it. Very good.
Thanks a lot.
It's a good book.
So let's talk. What you want to talk about today? Because I know you told me you had a couple things. Bring up. Yeah. So,
well, I had a friend of mine make me. I wanted to show you first things. My calendar. A girlfriend of mine at work made me a calendar that I have. It's at work all the time.
Okay, so it's the Cadillac Pat Who Wore It Better 2020 calendar.
Okay,
all right. And this is something I do on Instagram or on Facebook. I like to recreate photos, and she took them all and made a calendar for me. So I want to ask who you think wore it better.
Okay, all
right.
Okay.
And so you're recreating.
Okay, you hold it up closer to your face.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go, and we'll be able to get these on camera.
That is
it's great for radio too. Photos.
A picture of Michael Jordan smoking a cigar, sitting on. Where do you think? Is that after
hotel bathroom or something?
Yeah. And maybe after a championship or something. Has some champagne next to him.
I think
shorts.
You wore it better.
Do you have the Hitler mustache?
No.
Yeah.
I do have a mustache in that, though.
That was pre-Hitler, right?
It's hard to pull that off as a white dude. Only one white dude did it, and he had to work in silent films. Because that's it.
Don't talk.
But the attention to detail on this, I've been looking for this. This is like a vintage shirt as well. I've been looking for this shirt for like 15 years because it's the same shirt that he was wearing in that photo.
Yeah.
And if you look at the details, there's a champagne bottle, beer can, two corks. And if you can't see it, but there's a guy handing in another champagne bottle. I took a glove and I filled it full of paper and I taped it to another champagne bottle and I like tied it to my ladder. And I took this photo myself. I had
People
a lot of time
must
on
think
my
you're
hands.
insane. You
Pat,
stuffed a glove full of newspaper to recreate a photo of Michael Jordan.
Now, I'm going to now make a preface to my statement. You should do things for just joy. There is a limit to.
Well, Samantha. Oh, she didn't want me to say. Hey, Samantha, this is what she says in the chat room. Sorry, Pat. And sorry.
Go ahead. I don't care.
This is a lot of work for nothing.
Sorry.
Yeah, there is a
Spoken
step.
like a true producer. Well done.
Because let me
It
preface.
takes a lot of time and
Yeah,
work
it does,
to
man.
recreate
It
two
does,
corks
Pat.
next to you.
You should do things
Like
for.
if you're selling them, I'm like, okay.
You should do things for joy within reason. You should
It's a lot of work.
Gone too far.
A lot of work.
Use about 5% of your life's time to do joyous things. The rest are hard work, misery. Because I feels like now you're going into the
You're dipping,
too much.
dipping your toe in the lunatic jacuzzi.
Right, where now you're recreating photos. Of that.
Yeah.
Now, if it was specifically for this calendar,
I mean, I got to tell you, Pat, this is the second time you've appeared on the show as the character Cadillac Pat, not as our friend Cadillac Pat. I got to tell you, first appearance, I'm on board. This appearance, it's going somewhere else. It's going somewhere else.
Now it's like, whoa, that's a lot of time.
Yeah,
The gloves,
All right.
and I assumed that your girlfriend was there taking a picture, and then you had made sweet, passionate love after. And,
No, I'm single.
Yeah, being by yourself
he's
and doing
single
this
now.
makes it worse.
He said I'm single maybe because of this.
Oh, leave it alone. All right, let's
He
go.
said it, I didn't.
Next photo.
Who wore it better?
No, okay.
Me or
Okay.
Andre 3000?
Okay, that's I go with you on that one. I like it.
Now this is
Are they okay?
Yeah, this is not. Now we're in a different decade, Pat.
Pat, you're all over
Which
the
is not
place.
helping your counter argument of
Leave me
dipping
some
your-
sugar. I am your neighbor.
Why'd you decide Andre 3000?
I like Outkast, and
Okay.
You get bored at night and you had a couple drinks and it's fun to.
Oh, okay. Because now you're kind of out of the 90s theme.
Oh
which
yeah.
is,
This is just fun.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
Oh, okay. Well, I kind of wanted it all to be in the 90s.
Oh,
there's
Tupac.
We're gonna go back to the
Okay,
90s.
we got Tupac now.
All right. Now, I will say.
You look a little more Florida Georgia line.
Oh yeah, you're right.
If
you're
you
right.
would've-
And you're doing duck lips, and I don't think Tupac was.
Yeah.
If you would have painted yourself.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
I'm just saying, it would have been more authentic. Shaved your head.
No way.
No,
That's
no
part of it.
tattoos, but he is holding the
Now-
the
My
necklace.
death row necklace that I have.
Oh, you have a death
Yeah,
row. Oh wow.
yeah.
He has a death row.
If you did paint yourself,
records.
you'd lose a lot of calendar sales,
Yeah.
but you gain a lot in a certain demographic.
Yeah, let's just say your calendar sales
Midwest.
would be in the dumper, but you could run for office and win.
yeah. All right.
You'd have the votes.
Okay, next one. Who wore better, me or Tupac again?
Oh, it's Tupac again.
too. Oh, this
Now-
time
Two
it's
Tupacs.
This time it's premonition of death, Tupac.
Now, I'm not criticizing the person that put together the calendar, but if it was me, I'm
Happy
just saying.
Easter, dead Tupac.
No,
That's what it says.
No, I wouldn't have put the back-to-back Tupac.
Well, I think I know what she
Right,
was
right,
going
space
for.
it
The
out.
first one, go back to the first Tupac. The first Tupac, here's what she was going for, right? Okay, it's the Luck of the Irish, March, all right? If you flip it up, you go to the next one. He rose from the dead, Machiavelli.
Okay,
right?
well,
Okay, that's deep.
I'm serious. That's probably what she was going
But
for.
you got
right?
the look of the Irish of Tupac.
Yeah,
How about
Black
the-
Irish, Black Irish.
Oh,
Tupac
okay.
O'Malley was his real last name.
Tupac O'Malley.
Leave the jokes out. I don't know where that's going. All right, what's it?
Okay, who's next?
Tupac again.
Tupac again. Okay, that's
Triple threat.
That's a
Triple threat.
three-pac. That's a three-pac.
yeah. It's the rest Tupac Patrick towels.
Is the rest of the calendar Tupac?
Please.
I hope one of them's Blade, just to bring it back.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, we gotta get the
We
play.
didn't talk about
God
it.
damn it! best movie ever
I'm
made.
so glad this is on video for me to put out later. Go to YouTube, search Tom and Dan Live. I'm putting this out. This is hilarious. You are my favorite person, dude. You're so fun. You really are, dude. You just make me smile. You're mission accomplished. You are funny, man.
By the way,
holy crap! You're such a weirdo like me, and I love it. I love it. It makes me feel like I'm not the only weirdo.
Not to criticize the person that put the
cha-cha-cha. Hold on, let me zero in. Cha-cha-cha.
The cha-cha-cha is interesting. Also, the fact
It's for Cinco de Mayo.
I know, but they cut the first photo of Tupac. They
Cut his head right off.
Cut his head right off. It's like he couldn't have just made it a little bit. Like you could have made the cartoon Photoshop limes a little smaller and just kept Tupac's head in there.
She made it on her phone using layout.
Probably. All right.
Okay, they're all square like
Probably
Instagram.
Never even thinking that this would one day be debuted on a show.
A radio show as part of our mediocre.
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
give
she
this
had no
to
idea I'm doing this
to
either.
my crazy boyfriend who's dressed
No,
like
he's
these people.
single. This was a friend at work.
It's a friend at work.
Oh,
yeah,
You
yeah,
don't
yeah.
listen to anything
He said
anybody
girlfriend.
No, he said a friend
That's
at
a
work.
girl.
That's a girl.
Oh, yeah, that's a girlfriend.
All right,
You put it in her, bro?
No.
I'm sorry, Tom.
God damn it, it got me.
All right, who wore it better? You might have seen.
Oh,
okay.
Michael Jackson. Hold on.
Oh man.
All right,
This is getting
Okay,
creepy.
I actually like that because you have your
God.
hair pulled back like you're George Washington.
Also, that's a small picture of Michael Jackson, and
It's the album.
He's whiter than you are. Like, that's
you're
weird.
too dark.
He is. I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
He is actually a shade lighter than you are.
You look like Tupac Fantasy Island.
All right, here we go. Okay.
All right.
Who wore it better?
Jordan again.
again.
Oh, yeah.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
Yeah.
This
All
one's
right.
good. What
And
did you
hugging the-
spray paint a basketball?
I
on it?
made that out of cardboard and I got all kinds of arts and crafts stuff at the house. I do, and I made that. It's still in my living room as like a.
Oh, I definitely
it's like a
keep
trophy.
that.
Yeah, it is. It came out good actually too. All right.
I'm starting to see
Crazy.
why you're single here. It's
Severely insane.
All right, you ready?
All right,
Okay,
who's next? Who's next?
Okay, who wore better, me or some random chick?
Oh, it's just a random.
random
That was just an ad for Unilever soap.
This makes you the most crazy.
yeah. You don't know.
Who wore this better, me or this clip art?
Butler.
Butler's peeking around the corner the whole time. by the
Butler,
way.
get in here. Get
get
in here,
this-
Butler. Oh, you wore my favorite
Can we make
sweatshirt.
Butler do this?
Get the revolver in my desk
We're going to need it.
and just put it in a washcloth up by my feet.
Just go ahead and load it. Actually, you know what? Go out back and shoot around and make sure it still works.
Yeah, because I wet it a couple times.
Yeah, but wrap a towel around it. It'll keep the noise down. Put a pillow over it.
Yeah.
Is Moran out there?
Just
Go talk to him. He knows how to do it.
Come slide it by my feet here, because now we're getting into
Crazyville.
Yeah. So
Lunatic jacuzzi.
okay, all right, hold on. No, I'm really gonna.
We're going
deep dive.
way late.
I'm
too.
sorry.
Yeah, well, let's just do it. Let's just go way late.
Okay, because Pat, I got the theme to everything else. Like you're having fun, you're mimicking these famous photos from the '90s, then some not from the '90s. All right, I'm still with you. Now you're mimicking some Photoshop art for no reason.
No, I did the picture first, and she found this person already. I just was playing around.
Your explanation is even crazier. So,
I will say that you have not been skipping chest day because you look phenomenal. You look phenomenal.
Thanks a lot.
All right, now go.
right, here we go.
The next one
Which is
down.
why we need the gun.
All right.
This is
me
you.
or Russell Westbrook. It's
Okay.
kinda-
I hope the next one is just a photo, obviously taken from the outside of my house of me and my family eating dinner.
Wait a
minute, that was 2 weeks ago.
through the window.
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
No, through the window behind the bush.
It's just his reflection of the camera
Yeah.
on the window. The coolest thing about this one is that you kind of look like Beth, the dog the bounty hunter's wife.
Oh, with the glasses.
coming
yeah.
out of the hospital, first cancer treatment.
All right. Too
look
soon, man. Too soon.
No. She's an angel. She's an angel in heaven.
All right, here we go. Okay, who's
Who's next?
Okay, who's next?
Oh, it's Jordan again.
Jordan again. I see.
Oh, look at the arms on
yeah.
that man. You got bigger arms than Jordan.
Yeah.
My
Can you
God.
palm an actual basketball?
Yeah, but that one. I mean, it was like a rubber ball. For like
It's
a,
flat, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. But I like that. It's kind of people catch that all the
Now,
time,
are
and
you
I like it.
surrounded by all of this trash that you use for your crafts?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now-
Do you live in like a craft trash house?
Kinda, yeah.
okay.
I call it Tuscan frat boy is what I call it.
I appreciate
That's
that.
what I call it. Yeah.
Attention to detail.
That's awesome.
You're wearing the Bulls.
Tuscan frat boy.
boy.
You're wearing the Bulls jersey. You're palming a deflated basketball.
But why did you add the Brett the Hitman Hart sunglasses?
Yeah,
They look cool. Oh, okay. So it's really
And
not.
this is what I envision Dale Jr. did when he was a kid, right? Because his dad wore the big shades. You know,
and also, who's the person that?
dude, people are loving Tuscan frat boy.
All right, next.
I heard what you did there.
All right.
Okay,
Me
hold
or
on.
Big Boy?
Oh, Big Boy, one of my favorites.
another
Okay.
outcast
personal favorite.
I like that one.
From
Yeah,
the mid 2000s.
it's
Now
a Thanksgiving.
You were not dressed like him at all in this photo.
I
sitting
tried.
on a chair.
No, but if you look, well, I don't have one of those wicker wood. I took a chair and I cut palm fronds from like the bush in my front yard to make it look like that.
Oh God, Pat.
And then I bought a fur coat because I always wanted to. I've been wanting to redo this photo for years. And
Yeah, but you didn't even come close. We're gonna help you.
It's getting.
We're gonna have to redo this one.
I had to do stuff around the house. so
I feel
had to
like
find
the
it.
last one is just gonna be like you standing with a dead body, like, and you're like, "This is one of my craft
I was like,
creations."
wait a minute, that's Austin. How did you get
like, who is
a picture from the future?
All right, last one. Okay, who wore it better, me?
Oh, Jordan again. All right, there it is.
That one's good.
yeah.
You're sitting on the ground. You got a little bit of the shadow. It's taken from the same side.
Again, very Christmassy.
No, this says Christmas, like a three-peat from Michael
That
Jordan.
one, that's your photo on that one. Screams MySpace.
Yeah.
blurry.
Yeah.
A little bit, little grainy. God almighty.
Digital.
Yeah, can you, what happened? Your
camera was
Easy Back catch on fire?
It was an old Nokia digital camera.
All right.
All right, so
Okay, well, where can our listeners get one of those?
for sale.
Yeah, come and see me at the Brass Tab. You can.
All right.
you can
Find it with the brass tap.
In
You're-
Waterford,
are you-
not the one on
Yeah.
Mills, the one in Waterford
Yeah,
Lakes.
you're the Waterford one.
Yeah.
So
my God,
Pat,
that was great.
What I know we got to go soon.
We
we,
do.
we have to play this for a
This
different
is
day.
the-
It's
Yeah,
fine.
This might be
just
the
gonna-
craziest thing.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to move it. It's
Yeah,
too
I like-
good. It's too fun. We're
yeah.
letting it fly.
Yeah. So, what are your plans for the rest of this year, 2020? What is Cadillac Pat
Cruise.
got? Okay, cruise.
And I bought one more book that I've already brought this on 2 cruises, and I made this. You want to talk about it kills on a cruise? Mm-hmm. You walk around, and a buddy of mine made it on like Photoshop, and I walk around and I carry this on the boat the entire time, along with a fake phone
Okay,
the whole
hold on,
time.
let me-
How much time do your friends have on their hands?
says, how
One's
do you-
making a calendar,
You
one's
know
making
this
a book.
brand? It's a brand.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. How to pick up chicks on a cruise for dummies.
Oh, okay.
And I just walk around and I make it seem obvious with my custom Cadillac Pat shirt on too.
Yeah.
that'll make the chicks go back to your room. Pat. Hey,
They're like, oh my God, there's a serial killer on the boat.
there's a guy that's obviously a muscular guy that could easily abduct me and hold me down.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
definitely.
God.
Dressed like the 90s, holding a book that says how to pick up chicks for dummies.
You haven't lived. You've been in a tiny interior cabin with no windows, with an old
radio
with an old pair of Oakley stuffed in your throat. You're being held down. Shh, be quiet, be quiet. He's like, I'm just gonna turn up this Belle Biv DeVoe.
And it's just a coloring book that I glued it to the front, and then I did glue an old headshot of mine. Look, take a look.
It sounds like something a serial killer would do.
And I just like that. I just like that.
That's when you were in 8 is enough.
Yeah. You know what? You know what crazy people don't do is carry around headshots with them all the time and glue them to
I also like that I also like that if somebody were to sneak it, like you're on the cruise, you set it down the bar, you're getting a beer.
Yeah, that's what I do. I do that.
And then somebody comes over and starts looking at it, they're going to really think you're stupid because it's a coloring book.
Yeah. It works so good.
And the worst part, some of the pages are actually colored. Like, you're like, yo, this is really relaxing.
Like outside the line.
Oh, we need time to kill when you're not getting late.
Yeah.
What do I do until she wakes up? I guess I can color. I got some time to. Is she still breathing? Yeah, she's still breathing. I'll just wait it out here. I'll wait out the chloroform by coloring this picture.
And it's the 90s. Everybody's doing it. Pat, I love you, man.
Dude, you are all those in favor of making Pat I mean, he's responsible. He knows what he's doing. I think he's in charge of our mediocre now, of our group of. So now you're Remy's boss now.
Remy,
good
Big
luck.
Tim.
Yeah, you're the boss
And
now.
Seth, I get to be your boss.
Seth,
too.
you're top of the heap, man. You're top of the heap. God almighty, that's awesome.
So again, at Cadillac Pat on Instagram, follow him, look at his pictures and
Hey,
his adventures.
will you come out to some of our events as Cadillac Pat?
I only do as Cadillac Pat.
well,
So, yeah, I would love to.
Our next BDM party, I'll let you know all the details.
Dude,
I'd
yeah.
love to have you out.
He would fit in perfectly there.
Oh yeah.
We'll
Remy's gonna
get
be
up.
there.
We'll present you.
Totally.
Yeah. You could do.
People are going to want to take photos like crazy.
Angel will play some 90s.
Oh yeah, we'll do a whole 90s. We'll,
All right.
we'll corner out a little 90s for you.
Ace of Base.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Corporate Time. Welcome back to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan, and we want to grift a fish tank. Anybody listening to this right now, if you work in the fish tank
Industry.
Aquatic industry.
if you're a fish tankman, give us some free stuff.
Okay, well, I'll make the deal for you. So,
Okay.
me and Daniel, we talked about this a while ago.
Well, I just jumped back on Twitch, okay? And we taped during the day. And the last thing I think anybody wants to see, even though they would all say they want to see it, I know that none of us want to eat our lunch live on camera. That's just not, it's not normal. You know, it's weird. There
Yeah, I
are
want that.
women that make a lot of money, like smashing their face and their bodies into bread or eating lunch on camera. We're not
like
those
that.
people. We're just not those guys. So you said, and you've had this idea for quite some time, that you want a fish tank cam. I will now let you explain what the hell that is, because I didn't know what you were talking about at first.
So, because when we go to break on Twitch, Daniel just goes to like a "we'll be right back," kind of the old.
Or we have to turn it off.
Yeah.
You know, which is
'Cause it
kind
might
of
be
a,
too long,
it's
yeah.
kind of a shame. You know, I'd rather run it.
So it would be cool if during breaks we go to the fish tank cam that's out in the lobby that actually points back towards our studio, because right behind me there's a perfect little spot for it, and the fish tank cam will have a Twitch webcam in the fish tank
Or behind the fish tank.
or behind it, so it films through. But I like to go the extra
Waterproof?
waterproof camera
Okay, that's not
inside.
going to make my job harder. Okay. The waterproof cam's down again. Let me put on my wetsuit and get in there and root around in the doo-doo tank.
So we'll figure that. That's all semantics.
Just go with your dream. Don't worry about limitations. We'll figure those out.
And then it'll be non-audio, so it'll just be like the camera will be up. You can't hear anything.
Only audio of the fish.
But you could see, and through the fish, you see the studio and us walking around, and you see that kind of thing. But there'll be fish swimming by or whatever. And
How many fish?
So
Tropical or
tropical.
so saltwater tank?
Saltwater tank.
Oof.
Now in the fish tank
Giving
cam,
me a lot of extra work.
when we go to the fish tank cam,
Are you feeding the fish and
I want
cleaning
a
the tank?
starfish.
no.
Oh, I bet you want a starfish.
The,
you know what? I shouldn't have said that. I'm really sorry.
The company now we'll have fish food because we'll feed the fish like
What do you feed tropical fish? You got to feed them like real
well,
fish.
flakes. They all eat flakes.
I don't feel like anyone here is responsible to feed the fish every day.
How's Greg, our plant,
Greg's
doing?
dying.
Butler,
He
can
has
you,
coronavirus.
Greg, water, Greg, Travis, water. Thank you, water, Greg, please.
Well,
sir.
here's the thing. I'm putting
And
on my business hat.
Prune his brown leaves.
We'll rig a contraption where people can tip diamonds, and
Okay.
then on the Twitch feed, and that will trigger
Us to put something in the tank.
No, well,
I'll put a shot of tequila in there if you give me every $100. I'll put a shot of tequila in the tank. Kill all the fish.
Kill
I don't
all our
care.
fish.
I don't care.
And then, like Twitch could literally feed the fish using their diamonds,
Like those Japanese crane machines that everybody plays remotely.
Yeah,
And then you
yeah.
have to wait like 6 years to get your
Yeah.
your prize.
So-
And it's got Corona Crazy on it.
Here's how we
Or
get.
C Norval 19.
This is how we get the tank. So a local fish tank, like Saltwater Tank Store or whatever, they'll provide us with the tank, provide us with the fish, and weekly cleaning, so we don't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
And no maintenance.
And then I
obviously.
can call them up and be like, hey, our clownfish is looking a little weird.
Yeah,
Bring
they come
another
by.
Nemo.
So
And two Dories.
So here's what they'll get in return when we
And
go
a
to
Bruce.
break. There'll be a little placard on the inside the tank of the fish tank store, advertising that store, where it'd be like, "Hey, Joe's Tropical Fish will be in
And
there."
I've been there. Don't go there.
And
well, he smokes in the store. It's weird.
and so you'll get free publicity, and the only thing you'll have to provide is fish and a tank, which we'll just borrow.
Thousands of dollars.
And weekly cleaning and food.
They got a lot of
and
those.
give us. I want colorful rocks. I want a
the whole shebang.
We're gonna need a like a fluorescent light. I
I
want
want the skull so they can.
I want the treasure chest that the air bubbles
yep.
release the top of the chest. I
Yeah.
want the Aqualung man.
We'll theme it, Tom and Dan, like a mini studio down there. Like in the
I'll
thing.
make us out of Sculpey clay.
Yeah.
I'll make little figurines of us in there,
So if you want some,
and then we can sacrifice our enemies in the tank. I will make our enemies out of hamburger meat. And if you give us a higher amount of money, I'll drop in one of my homemade hamburger voodoo dolls.
Yeah.
And it'll float down, and the fish are attacking it, and you'll scream, and you're throwing diamonds crazy.
get some
Pretty
sharks.
soon, you'll like that better than even this, and we won't even have to do the show anymore.
It'll just be
People are
fish
like,
tank
"What do you
cam."
do?" And I go, "I run a fish tank cam." And then that'll morph into the old school Tampa co-ed cam.
Yeah.
And then people ask, "What do you do?" I say, "I own a porno cam." It's 17s, 18, 19, living.
Yeah.
And,
I thought you were saying 17.
living. No. What are you? That's 17-year-old fish only. And then they live in an apartment, and there's cams in other rooms.
Yeah.
Oh, look, that one's jumping on a trampoline.
Yeah. It all comes back to cam girls.
Yeah. That's the goal.
Then you'll be like, you'll look around the room from
But
your
then it
computer.
gets
and you're like,
weird.
Is that a prison cell?
Yeah, but then it gets weird because it pops up on my screen. I'm watching one day, and it pops up on my screen like, "Would you like to feed the cam girls?"
No.
And I'm like, "I would." And I hit the button, and then
Drop the flakes.
meat starts falling out of the ceiling. Then it gets really weird when I'm paying other cam girls to kill the other cam girls. You think we'll ever get to that point
Yeah.
in our and how we because I think it was sort of probably predicted years ago that this voyeur, sort of web society that we live in has gone too far.
Yeah.
How far before we have has anybody ever tried to do that? Like a house that has traps in it and stuff that you can trigger by paying? Maybe not for murder or anything,
Oh,
but
okay.
Other things.
if I knew I could log onto this website that had Samantha and 6 of her friends in it, and if they're sitting on the couch watching TV, I could hit a button and throw a pie at their face. I would totally do that.
Yeah. You pay money for that.
Right.
But the
Doesn't have to be nudity, but bikinis would be good. If you're trying to get people on there, and boys too. You have boys in little outfits and stuff, with their abs all poked out.
people are too impatient and no one would wait for the reset for the pie. So because everybody just be like, I want to hit the pie, like pie.
Yeah, you'd be pieing too
and
much,
then
yeah.
and then
Too
people,
many pies.
Yeah, it's like you the other day, Frogberg. Yeah. Too many
You
Frogberg.
just want to hit it all the time.
Yeah,
Like, so you're like, pie, and you're be doing the punching glove. And it's like, no, you have to wait until they're unsuspecting.
How did you know I was going to go with the punching glove? It's a classic.
Because imagine if someone's reading a book.
The accordion boxing glove.
Yeah, the boxing glove comes out of the painting and punches their head.
Oh, it's the best.
But no one would wait. It would just be coming out of the whole
And
time.
then people
Like,
wouldn't
you have
even,
to wait.
and then the cam girls wouldn't even sit there anymore.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
don't sit there. It's a punching glove. I'm like, damn it, they're on to us. This sucks.
Like, build
I'm gonna
some
go back
other
to
traps.
fish cam. At least fish cam, the fish look like they appreciate the flakes. These girls, they're racking up thousands. They don't even care.
Yeah,
they won't even bend over while they're getting cereal anymore. With a fish, he'll leave a long doo-doo.
So,
This took a turn.
I want to talk about McMillions.
Oh, God, it blew my brains out.
So,
Enough of
all
the
right.
millions.
McMillions, yeah!
I've changed my tune
Oh, no.
a little bit, and here's my new take on it.
Hot take, McMillions.
So, episode number 5 came out this week. Obviously,
It's too much. I mean, I feel like they could have told this whole story in
Yeah.
a 2-hour documentary,
100%.
man.
I think the next
This
episode,
is way too stretched out, right?
the last episode
I've said that before.
will let us know how the guy did it. Anyway, so
You still don't know how he did it?
No.
My
Yeah, God, how many?
Oh,
You go 8
I know.
episodes in. It's like it can't be that complicated.
Did you learn about his childhood
I
first?
took a whole stack of the cups, put them in the back of a Trans Am. All right, there you go.
There it
and
is.
drawing it out. Now, this may be a little spoiler, but it's a documentary. All this stuff is like
It's on Wikipedia, man.
Yeah, you could look it up. But if you wanted to watch it, I guess stop listening. So remember,
Go watch your fish cam now.
yeah. Remember when I said like the guy he donated $1 million to a children's charity,
And it made you feel better.
And then I was like, whatever, because who's the real victim? McDonald's like $1 billion corporation. Who cares? Like they actually make money. They're not
Sure.
losing anything. I guess the people that could have won, but those people, you're not really stealing from people that could have won something because it could have been millions. So I was like, there's not really that many victims here.
Yeah.
until this last episode, what I didn't realize is, so the company that actually was in charge of the whole game thing, like the company's name, Simon Marketing, right?
Okay.
And it was a gigantic global marketing company that handled McDonald's and a bunch of other corporations.
I was going to say, don't they own a lot of malls too?
That's a different Simon? Different
Okay.
Simon.
Yeah.
Simons are apparently rich as balls.
Yeah.
So
Well, except for
Simon Cowell.
Simple Simon. He was just a
Simon.
pieman.
yeah. You're
And
right.
he's like, you're throwing them at cam girls. You're wasting my delicious treats.
So when this
That was a long way to go.
when the story ended up breaking and Simon Marketing was in the news and saying like they were the perpetrators or like some employee from this company or whatever, it bankrupted the entire corporation of Simon Marketing.
That's a lot of lives.
And literally, it was, I guess they said it was the biggest stock, like single stock fall of all time
Oh my
from one
God.
company. And the entire company, and they had like locations around the world, like in Europe, a bunch in the United States and stuff. Like you could look it up how many employees they had, but they had like 7 or 8 or something like that locations around the world, like big, huge buildings, and it done. Like all their employees fired, like or out of a job. So this one dude,
Oh my God! How
caused-
do they? And they give you a tally, right? Like they tell you how many people.
They didn't say how many. At least I don't remember last night
Hundreds?
or whatever.
Thousands?
But I imagine
Simon
thousands.
Marketing gets fried in McScandal.
So how many
that's
employees
good.
did they
That's the
have?
headline.
So
good.
before, when I said that this guy, like because when they were defrauding,
Yeah, it wasn't
McDonald's,
victimless. Yeah.
and then now with the like thousands of
Yeah.
people out of a job, like a higher level, lower level, like whatever, no
Yeah.
more job, and then it got me thinking. I was like, what if they never said anything? Like, what if this story, like internally, they went to the guy and be like, hey, like they fired him and like kept it quiet? It probably would have been better for everybody.
Well, the royal family has done that before. I figure I was watching
Yeah.
The Crown.
Like,
Not that it ties in at all, but there have been items in history that have happened that have been like huge scandals, right?
Yeah.
But if you can control them, and you're just like, no, don't. We're not going to
And
release
keep it
this.
internal.
We'll just keep this
Yeah.
here, and damage is done. But you go on and you just go do your thing, and we'll handle it internally, and then and then life goes on.
Because before this huge corporation, this marketing corporation, went out of business because of this, the only victims here were technically McDonald's and a bunch of fantasy people that could have won and didn't. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So really, I don't really look at the
McDonald's and the odds.
Yeah. And no one really feels bad for McDonald's. They have unlimited money. Who cares? They're not out that much. And
Even though technically that's not true, I understand.
Yeah,
I'm just saying blanket statement.
Yeah. But now that an entire corporation went under and thousands lost their jobs, now you got a bunch of victims based on this guy. Now the guy's a POS, back to POS.
Because some low-level guys are, you knew they were gone. I mean, they're probably teetering on being gone anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
it just
that's bad.
this changed it, and I was like, oh yeah, the fallout of an entire corporation being now bankrupt because of this is now too far. Like you screwed over a lot of innocent people, and a lot of people lost their jobs. An entire business went out of business.
I mean, this guy that perpetrated it technically would have been a lower-level employee of theirs, right?
No, he was higher level. That's
Oh,
how
he was.
that's how he got his hands on the tickets.
Gotcha.
He was security officer.
Yeah. So he was the person in charge of the security. Like, obviously,
Oh, there
that's
you go.
why he did it. But it totally bankrupted an entire corporation, big too. And then I was like, back to POS. This is now
not good.
not really a victimless crime, or the only victims is $1 billion corporation. Now it's you put a bunch of people out of business and out of work.
So they technically have not still revealed how this guy was able to do it, or are you putting the pieces together?
That's the last episode.
So
No.
you're done.
They still no. The next episode number 6.
No, that's what I mean. So
How many more episodes are there?
That's it,
but
6 total.
I mean, you
Okay.
got to have a good idea of how this guy pulled it off.
No,
right?
it's total. Like, so far, they have not even alluded to.
Is that probably because it is as simple as just taking a thing of, like, I mean,
Right.
like
I
it
can't
almost.
Not that complicated.
Yeah, it almost makes me. Because you know what I'm saying? Like, why else would they stretch it out?
It
Why
says
else
there's
would
only
they make
5
it?
episodes.
really?
Yeah. 1 season, 5 episodes. You just watched the season finale.
Oh, okay, so that
and
was
you still
it.
don't know how he stole.
Oh, okay.
So then maybe they.
Maybe they don't. I guess they said
They have to know. There was like a lawsuit about it.
No, well, the guy didn't talk. He lawyered up. The actual head guy, the ringmaster, lawyered up with like a high profile lawyer in the 90s, and that lawyer told him don't say anything, and maybe he never told how he did it. And
Did he ever do time or?
Oh yeah. The guy, I think that guy is dead now, right?
You watched it? I don't know.
Well, they didn't. They I think no, he's still alive.
It must be nice to be able to rewatch things for the first time, like a lot.
They interviewed the guy's son, and he alluded that the father, the ringmaster of this whole thing, was still alive, and didn't want him to do the interview, but he did it anyway. So I guess he's still alive. Maybe he's out of jail now, or maybe he's still in jail, or they didn't really say. If I remember what the guy's sentence was, but
so he was an ex-cop, and then he became a security guard for the Simon marketing situation.
Yeah. Uncle Jerry was his like his criminal nickname that he used to do this
menacing.
thing. But anyway,
it just says he oversaw the printing of the game pieces and began stealing and handing them out.
Yeah.
There is an episode 6?
Yeah. I thought, there is.
Maybe they're just basing it on what's out now, Sam.
Yeah. I was about to say, I was virtually certain there were 6 episodes, and the next one was going to reveal how he did it. Because it would be weird if they ended with like no one knows it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's 6 episodes, and last was the 5 this week. But
what's the most amount of money you've ever held in your hands? Physical money, not check or representation of money.
Probably $10K.
Sam, what's the most amount of money you ever held in your hands? Cash.
$3,500 when I bought my first car.
No.
Yeah, you guys beat me. I think the most amount of money I've ever held cash money is $1,000. Because most of the time, all transactions that I've ever done, if they were like bank transactions.
You know what? It was $20K. Because it was in my belt loop. Getting into the country. That's for a different time.
Oh, yeah, I know that story. Yeah, you can't talk about it.
Smuggling cash into the country. It was a whole thing. I'll tell it for a BDM show.
McMillions,
one day.
McThousands, 20,000.
10K and hundreds is it's a pretty small stack. It's probably only an inch thick, and if it's
hundreds only, maybe.
Yeah. And then you could fit probably 100K in your belt loop.
I could fit 100K in my bra for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. You probably could fit it looks like you couldn't fit a quarter in there. Like no offense, I'm just saying, $100,000.
Get a bigger bra.
You look at my wife can carry $100,000. Like you'd be lucky if you got $150 in there.
No vacancy.
Yeah, it's like
No
Jesus,
vacancy.
no room at the inn.
But going back to the thing, so if they were, because what about this? Like if they looked at the greater good, right? And because I for sure they had to have thought like when this story comes out, this is going to ruin this marketing company, like because they that's all they did is like specialize in giant corporate games and things like that.
Yeah.
So they had a bunch of clients that they probably charged. I mean, think about, we know what marketing companies charge.
How much did we pay to do the Yellow Brick Road scratch off promotion that we did? The marketing company.
That's not.
That's a joke.
He only did 37 months in prison, by the way, and he's the only person that was involved in the ring that served more than a year in jail.
I don't think that's bad at all.
No.
All those guys, slap on the wrist, man.
Yeah, he got a slap on the wrist, and he's still alive. He's living in Georgia, and he still keeps in contact with a lot of the members of the fraud ring. They're at it again.
Oh, they got to be at it again. Small time though now.
Well, they're probably it's too much heat for them to do anything.
You think they're still on the FBI? You think the FBI still checks on them now and again?
I don't know how that works.
I think the FBI ever asked them to assist in another game piece scandal. See what their thoughts are.
Oh man, they're making a movie about this. Enough with the McMillions.
It's a fascinating story, which I didn't know even happened. But I will tell you this: it doesn't paint the FBI in the most non-bumbling light.
Well, they're huge too. I have members in my family, and no offense to them, but they're not. It's not what you think FBI is. It's more like...
listen to FBI Case Files podcast, and you'll find out they don't know what they're doing with half the stuff. There's so much stuff
human.
they have to,
they're human
to
and
look into.
Literally in this past episode, and again, spoiler alert, they had their like final investigation report with all it was like a couple hundred pages of all the like the evidence and everything.
Ready to go. Synopsis ready.
And they were going to fax it to like their California branch or something, because this whole thing was running out of Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
And then they accidentally hit the wrong speed dial fax and faxed it to a local newspaper by accident.
My God.
And they're like, no! And then the local newspaper got this, and then they're like, whoa, what the? And they had the whole investigation, and they were going to
That's one of those moments where you have the intern at the copier, and he's like, Mr. Thompson, you're going to want to get in here. Something's happening.
And so this is what happens.
This is the scoop of the century, kid.
Everybody is a bumbling idiot. There's
a lot of them out there.
Yeah, everybody's an idiot. Just everybody.
Yeah,
that's it. The blanket statement.
There it is.
Pretty much
from top to bottom. Idiots.
From bottom to top.
Everyone's an idiot. Go fund us a fish tank.
Go fund us.
Yeah, me, the biggest idiot. I'm the king of the idiots.
No, don't say that. We got to get out of here. Anything to plug?
I'm the court jester of the king of the idiots, which is worse.
The amount of difficulty that it took you to say court jester is...
That's it. I'm just proving my point.
Yeah, I know.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow. Welcome back to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan.
So we have a BDM in here.
I'm going to be serious for this segment now.
Okay.
No, I'm just letting you know.
Okay,
this is no joke.
Okay.
This is No Joke Thursday.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm going to be very serious about this because I want to learn this because it's the only class in the history of me being alive that I've ever failed.
Oh, really?
I've never failed.
Except
technically.
For the CPR?
I may not be good at something, but I'm talking failure. CPR. Failed.
See, and we talked about this a little while ago. I assume that's where Chris heard it and contacted us and said that he would teach us CPR if we wanted to, and that's where we're at right now. So Chris is in studio with us, and he brought some CPR.
He brought his dolls.
Dolls, dummies. What do you call them? It's not PC to call them dummies.
They're called they're your little gay dolls, right?
He brought his little gay dolls.
I think that's the technical term. I mean, all the guys at the station say. Where's Chris and his little gay dog? I've heard it.
So how you doing, Chris?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. You move that mic a little closer.
Yeah, you're going to get about an inch off of it. Just pretend like you're staring into the eyes of one of your gay dolls.
Pretend the mic is the open mouth of your gay doll.
Yeah. And stare right into it. Yeah, like you're putting something in there.
Why does anybody want to help us?
He's a good
I just got an email back.
He's got a Tom and Dan shirt on.
On his day off.
I know.
He's a hero.
You are a hero.
And
now I can't stop looking at your mouth. God, what's happening?
And he offered to give us free CPR training just out of the kindness of his
heart.
heart.
He gets here, I start bullying him. And I'm little, and he's a big dude.
I know,
he's a big dude.
He could beat you up for sure.
So his dolls could beat me up, Tom. His little gay dolls could.
These nerds are killing us.
I knew you would. Yeah. It's never stopped, right? Even when you're the smaller bully, even if the victims have overpowered you or killing you, never surrender. Bully till death.
Yeah, like don't kill me, nerd.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, sorry, Chris. So, did you hear us talking about CPR and not knowing?
Yeah, specifically from the Daytona 500, we're talking about Ryan Newman with his accident and whatnot. Yeah,
is he not a testament to technology, to medicine, to what you guys do, first responders? The fact that he walked out of the hospital holding the hands of his daughters, and the fact that he went and he saw his race team and he's like, I want to get in the car as quickly as humanly possible. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, well, that's more of a testament to the engineering of the car nowadays and the safety. And
that's technology, man. That is just science.
They changed the walls after Dale Earnhardt died, and they
tread lightly on this side.
Well, they put some sort of give in them, right? So you wouldn't stop immediately, and that and the roll cage and the Hans device ice and all this stuff.
Right.
That's what, I mean, I don't even know what his injuries were, but obviously not that serious at all because he walked out the next day.
They actually said he did sustain a head injury, but they won't go into it.
Right, yeah, usually they won't release that kind of information.
He probably had a concussion. I've got dozens of those. Not that big of a deal.
Right.
I literally kept doing whatever I'm doing.
Sam, you ever had a concussion?
Probably.
When you
haven't been diagnosed. Yeah,
I bet you did concuss yourself.
At least that time. I'm sure there's been other times.
That's probably one of the worst feelings, without a doubt, because you don't really understand it or know what's going on.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
The worst is the week after you start having deja vu about normal experience. Like your brain is screwed up. Anyway, so CPR. So let's talk about CPR. So they've changed some of the rules in the past years about CPR, correct? Is it still the same? How does it work?
So for the basic for the public, their big focus now is doing hands-only CPR. So like the whole giving mouth-to-mouth, it's not really a big focus for most citizens.
Okay.
The compressions is kind of the main focus. That's what's really going to make a difference.
Why couldn't have been? They should have. I would have gone the other way. If I'm the Attorney General, I'm like, more mouth, less hands.
Well, then you ruin all those sweet 80s and 90s movies where the
young teen,
pretends to drown that the
hot lifeguard,
the Sandlot, So then the hot lifeguard gives them mouth to mouth. Although what they left out is she would be chest compressing, breaking his ribs. Before the mouth to mouth.
Well, they also left out that I went swimming in multiple springs, multiple public pools, multiple YMCAs, never had a girl lifeguard ever. It was all dudes. All guys.
And I assume...
Not that it matters. I mean, I guess if you're a younger gay gentleman, you could make that happen.
I assume that all lifeguards, they had been trained at the beginning of their job, when CPR, but never had to use it. And then when it was time to use it, they'd freak out and be not know how to do it right, or just be like, I forgot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't trust my teen lifeguards to know how to do CPR properly.
I don't trust myself. Here's the weird spot that I'm in, and I'll be serious for a second. Like, even though I did fail, I think most of us, and that's true, but I think most of us have a decent idea of what you're supposed to do with CPR. I even remember in taking health class, even at the time, it was like if somebody's choking, they did it like Heimlich and CPR and choking all in sort of the same class, and it was like hook the airway, all that.
Changed.
But I remember all of that stuff, so I think I have a decent idea of at least what I would do, but I don't trust myself to do it, especially on my daughter, without hurting her, like you said. That concerns me. I'd almost be helpless standing around looking at people like, please, somebody help, and I don't want to be that guy.
I'd start destroying my house, I told you.
Just in a fit of rage.
Not
helping at all.
So, Chris, let's go over some of the basics. Then you're going to teach me and Daniel how to do this, correct? And you brought a baby. What are the, we call them dummies.
Can I hold your doll, your baby doll?
Most definitely.
So what are they called in the firefighter paramedic world?
Oh, man, he's...
It's basic term
mannequins. Training tools. Okay, mannequins. Look very scary.
Come here, guy. Come here, baby.
Hard to have a baby mannequin not look crazy and
especially
scary.
When its mouth is just wide open.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you just put a little wig on it, it would be less off-putting.
Butler, bring me a wig or a hat from our costume from Tom's improv trunk.
Here's the thing: you can make it hard, you can make it where it's cast into the actual baby doll itself, or less off-putting when it's bald. So okay, let's start from the beginning, Chris. So what do you train? Do you train people to do CPR?
For about 2 years now, I've been a CPR trainer for my fire department I work at.
And how long does the normal CPR training take?
Typically, about 3 to 4 hours.
Okay,
maybe. And it's a bunch of videos that people watch. It's the CPR, learning how to use an AED. And especially with the choke and Heimlich maneuver and stuff like that.
Do I have to watch? But you could teach us how to do it right now. And we're just as good, right?
And that's kind of where we're focused on. Is that hands-only CPR, just doing the compressions, because that's going to make the biggest difference. Is starting those compressions as soon as possible. Because even not doing the mouth-to-mouth, you still have oxygen in your bloodstream. So if you can circulate that.
That makes
keep
sense.
The brain alive for a few more minutes.
Totally makes sense.
So that's where them getting rid of the mouth to mouth came from.
Yeah, it's still there. It's just at this point we're trying to get everybody to know how to do the very basics, and doing compressions is really good.
Also, right now, I mean, we're at a time where human contact is kind of limited and people are kind of freaked out.
Right.
So it should make everybody feel pretty good to know that you can give chest compressions on somebody who might be having an episode without necessarily putting your mouth on theirs. You know, I mean, that shouldn't stop you from being a decent and good human being, right?
Although if that's going to, you know, if someone was dying, I could save their life by putting my mouth on their mouth. But I'll put my mouth on anything.
But you're a good person. There are plenty of people I know.
Well, you also can't say that you're not a good person. Maybe you're germaphobe or something, you know? Like,
yeah, but if you're not willing to look past your germophobia to save a person that's dying...
That can be chronic for some people.
My buddy told me, too.
I'm going to get on a plane if it's going to save your life. I'll just let you know that.
You do... Sometimes you blow...
But what if it's a stranger?
You blow
I'd
air.
save anybody. I'd get on any plane to save anybody's life.
What if it's someone you hate?
I'd let them die.
Got him.
You did. You win.
Isn't it too like sometimes you blow air into like a human and then they could throw up in your mouth and do there's a gross thing.
I mean, it's possible.
Exactly, and that's why they kind of go away from the mouth to mouth unless you have like a barrier device or a mask to use. If you don't have that, they
the
kind
masks
of
are pretty cool, and I've seen the videos they're talking about. Baroness Vicky.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. Good day. So, all right. So, where do we start, and what do you train your students to do first? Is it the old "you call 911"?
Yeah, you still have to call 911. And the biggest thing is making sure the scene is safe. So, if there's like we use a common thing, a power line on the ground or something. You don't want yourself to be also injured or harmed or whatever.
All right, learn that from G.I. Joe Roadblock.
Hey, who wants a body massage?
Everybody say that. Hold on.
Hey, who wants a body massage? Mr. Body Massage.
There's their little roadblock.
Look that up.
That's good.
The funniest thing.
Type in what is it? G.I. Joe.
It's like bad lip reading.
No, it's G.I. Joe and knowing's half the battle. Just Google that. And the best, though, is Snow Job.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's good.
So, okay, once you tell people to... Now,
Call 911! Is the area clear?
Does the person have to be not breathing to do CPR? Like, what is the person's state? Because if they're just unconscious, then you don't need to do CPR if they're breathing still, right?
So what you can do is check for a pulse on their carotid, right next to the neck, on either side. And we usually teach most of our students to check for at least 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, if you don't feel anything, you want to start that CPR immediately.
Now, that's going to be hard because if you don't feel anything after 10 seconds, I'm assuming that at that point,
they're already a ghost.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're a ghost here. I'm scared.
And then run.
When do they turn into a ghost? Because
how quickly how quickly can you watch a soul rise out of a body? And how quickly can that said soul become vengeant?
Because technically, after 10 seconds,
at that point,
it is an unsafe. There's ghosts here. Everybody back. There's ghosts. This man has just died.
If the CPR works, when we see the ghost come back, and they're like, "No, I was in paradise." I'm sorry.
I was able to hug my grandmother one more time, and you pulled me away from it. Now I'll haunt you forever.
I blame you, Chris. You knew what you were going to get to.
Yeah.
It's not our fault.
That's our new billboard. Write that down. You knew what you were going to get to. That's what it should say.
Sign out front.
You knew.
So, if they're breathing, obviously don't do CPR.
So, if they're breathing regularly, then no, don't do CPR. Now, someone who's in cardiac arrest who needs CPR could have what we call agonal respirations, where they're just kind of gasping for air.
Okay.
But it's not regular. It's very slow. It's definitely not regular breathing.
And the fact that you start compressions could actually maybe mellow them out, for lack of a more medical term.
Potentially. It's more just getting that blood circulating, getting that oxygen circulating, so there's oxygen in the brain. Because after about 6-7 minutes, that brain starts dying off. Right. And that's the biggest thing.
And that's the problem I've heard from my buddy who's a paramedic when it comes to CPR. And a lot of times, if they're not there, if someone's heart stopped beating and the oxygen stopped going to the brain, that lack of oxygen in the brain will usually, even for a small period of time, basically you're never going to be the same, or you're never going to wake up. And then maybe you could live.
And it's not a good thing when he says never be the same. It's not like never be the same because I grew wings and I can fly. It's pretty awesome. It's not like that.
Yeah. It's really
the opposite of that.
You could be disabled. And that
always happened to my grandmother at the McDonald's when she lost oxygen. The guy performed an emergency tracheotomy. They got enough oxygen, but she'd already been without oxygen, Chris is saying, for the 6 minutes or so. So she was already brain dead. So, I mean, it happens, folks.
Yeah. And so that's what you're trying to stop is just getting oxygen to the brain until the paramedics show up, so that person is not disabled their whole life or not brain dead, because that's the most important. Your brain it needs to work 100%, or it's not going to be good.
Remember that.
So after you establish if the person needs CPR, what's the next step?
So either having someone call 911 or call 911 yourself, and we teach people to use speakerphone on your cell phone. Everyone usually has their cell phones with them, so dial it up quickly, and then you can start compressions and still talk to that dispatcher or call taker, whoever.
Good call.
The phone.
Okay, and because they can walk you through certain things too,
They're trained. They take a little bit different type of CPR class, but they're trained to walk people through how to do compressions.
Yeah, so I wouldn't. They're experts in knowing how to. It's like air traffic controllers. I don't think they typically do this, but they will be able to kind of get you through what you need to do.
So all right, are we going to start off on the adult?
Yeah, we'll start on adult.
You want to start? Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah, because I got a cold, so
all right,
I have
I'll
to go
switch
last.
over. I'm going to go to yellow mic now.
Okay,
so I'm going to kill mine there. I'm going to put that on, and then okay, that should work. Let's see if that works.
Right. So Daniel's going over to the couch right now, and Chris is going to show him.
Can you hear me? Okay?
Yeah, you're good.
All right.
So the person's on the ground. Right. Oh my God! I see his ghost. Too late.
Okay, now do you have any non-white dummies? Because I'm not real big on.
They do offer the options when we buy them.
I would rather have a brown dummy.
Like you get any shade you want.
There's like 3 or 4 different shades.
Can you get like wacky blue or pink or something like abnormal?
Do you want me to put the camera on you or?
Oh, I thought I did. Yeah, it should change here in just a second. Yeah, I changed. There we go. Okay. Oh, it's my butt.
There it is.
Great. Okay.
All right, so
you got to blow in his butt, Tom.
Put him right here.
Okay, so now what's first, Chris?
So after you made sure the scene is safe, if you want to check for a pulse.
Oh, you want to get right on there? Yeah, sorry,
that's
fine. Be difficult.
So if you want to check for a pulse, on either side of the neck, usually on the same side is better.
Okay. And is it the same 2 fingers?
Now, 2 fingers down.
Will you be able to feel it? Now, where on your neck is your carotid?
You can actually feel your own sometimes. Yeah, if you feel one, that's not good.
This guy's
it's alive!
Oh my God, this guy's thumping, man. It's almost like he was on a Peloton.
So after that 10 seconds, if you don't feel it, have someone call 911 or yourself call it.
Samantha, call 911.
I'm on it.
So you take either hand, put it in the center of the chest right here.
All right.
Okay.
Palm,
now, where the center is the sternum?
Yeah, right at the sternum or easy between the nipple line too.
Okay, so that's a way to tell between the
it's an
nipple
easier
line.
landmark, yes.
Now, if it's a female victim, do I,
Well, you're going to want to
pull them out?
No.
Yeah, you're definitely going to
I'm saving her life.
You're going to want to cut their bra off with a big Rambo knife and then stand over the yelling obscenities.
My buddy, he said always do EKG.
Always. So we typically try to take the bra off if we can, but we try to keep it covered up though too.
Okay.
You do take the bra off?
Yeah, you take the bra off and you put 2 yellow Wendy's napkins.
Always carry.
You wet 2 Wendy's napkins with I believe Pib Extra.
Because they'll blow
you stick
now,
the
what
yellow...
happens if you leave the bra on?
So if you're just doing compressions,
well, your boob's gonna kill you. Let that happen. You think this is fun and games?
I'm just trying to.
We're trying to save lives here.
We're trying to be serious.
And you're trying to be a Me Too.
We're trying to be serious here. You're too. You're too woke AF to save some lives.
Yeah.
So with the bra, if we have an AED that gets brought in, which will
he's got an AED.
With the possible having like underwire, if we have to shock them, we don't want to have that on them. So,
but if I'm just doing chest compression,
you can keep it on if you want to, if you feel safer.
I'm a fan of
Sam's got AEW. We got Chris. We broke his professionality.
You got him.
I know firefighters. They're not all professional.
Professionality.
I'm sure Shorty and Trey really appreciated that.
So they know.
All right, so 10 seconds, didn't feel a pulse.
Right.
Center of the chest.
Palm right there.
Palm right there.
Palm in the center.
And interlock just like that.
Okay, other hand
interlocked.
And then come closer to him.
Okay.
Okay.
And then lock in your elbows.
All right. So Daniel's locking his elbows. All right.
There
now he's
push down to feel
compressions.
click. There you go.
How many times?
All right.
Keep going. Let's go.
Okay.
And if you go a little bit quicker, you'll see that once you have 2 green lights, you're going deep enough and fast.
Don't you go to the beat of Staying Alive, right?
So, yeah, Staying Alive is a good song to kind of hum in your head, or the Imperial March from, like, Star Wars. No sleep till!
That's a good one.
Another one we might hum is another one, Bites and Dust.
My name is Bow with a bow,
all right, now I'm changing it to Bow with the Bob.
That actually works pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
Now, was I doing okay?
You were doing good. You had 2 green lights. We want to compress
Oh, it's red now. He's dead.
Well,
Oh, Dad, you killed him.
Oh, my God.
You should have used Yin Yang Twins. Wait till you see my D whisper song.
We actually want to compress at 100 to 120 beats per minute.
Okay.
Just per minute. Yeah.
Well, that's
kind of our range. It used to be 100, now we're up to 100.
Oh, fast.
Does he have a flashing yellow now?
That's called Big Tim ties your shoes.
Oh, man.
Poor Chris. All right. Sam's up next.
Okay, so
Or Tom. You can go.
no,
Go ahead, Tom.
all right. So now let me ask you some like maybe misconceptions. Is it true that you could break the person's ribs?
Oh, yes, I've
and,
heard
and
this.
if you do this, does that mean you did it wrong, or does that mean that just the person's ribs are weak?
Technically, you're not breaking the ribs. You're actually breaking the cartilage in the ribs. And that will reform after. If you do get them back, it'll grow itself back. So you will feel a cracking sensation. It's very, let's say, creepy feeling. But it is a good sign that you felt that. You'll only feel it for the first couple compressions.
Yeah, and that is just the cartilage that probably holds the ribs together.
With the rib cage and whatnot. And that's what's protecting that heart, but you're wanting to break through that so you can give that compression.
You smush the heart.
Yeah.
Gotcha, yeah. So so you are breaking the cartilage, but it's not a serious thing.
No, it's typically normal. We do it all.
Yeah, I guess
You want to
even
do
if
the baby?
Even if it was the... Okay, yeah, let me...
Yeah, do the baby. You're the one with 2 kids. I mean, I got 1, so, not a big deal.
Yeah, 2 is like, chances are...
One of them's going down.
Oh, my God.
And going back to what
He's
Daniel
a
did...
terrible person.
Is that it? Is that in?
So
with
for
the
hands-on CPR, that's it. Just doing those
Now,
compressions.
the only
keep
question
going.
I have from that, because that doesn't feel too unfamiliar or weird, the only question I would have is how long would I perform that?
So for handling CPR, you want to just keep going. Now,
Until the cops show up and then
paramedics.
switch out with people if I get tired
if someone
or
else is
whatever?
there that can help out, switch
Gotcha.
out
Okay,
once you're
good to
getting
know.
tired. If we were incorporating breaths, we actually use a ratio of 30 compressions to 2 breaths. But again, doing the very basic compressions will make a big difference.
Okay,
on
I
its
felt
own.
pretty comfortable with that. That does make me feel better.
Keeping it simple, just doing those compressions.
And before I practice on the baby, is like what are the chances?
Said the tattoo artist.
Are you giving the person an exponentially better chance of survival by receiving CPR like as soon after whatever whatever's going wrong?
Very much so. Yes. Then what's really important after that is if there's an AED nearby, and where I work at in Volusia County, when you call 911, they actually know of certain public AEDs are nearby, like at churches or like at a Publix. They'll tell you where they're at if it's registered.
And that's a shock.
Yeah, that will deliver a shock. It doesn't. So if you ever seen on like the medical shows the typical flatline shock, it actually doesn't. We don't usually shock that rhythm. That's called asystole. We actually are shocking 2 other rhythms that are lethal to the heart. And by that shock, it's actually stopping the heart to reset, let the heart reset itself.
Oh, it's like unplugging and plugging it back in.
Pretty much.
So the flat line, you wouldn't actually shock
We
someone?
actually don't shock that now.
Really?
Because the heart's not doing anything. We're actually, the purpose of the shock is to depolarize the heart, to get it out of the lethal rhythm.
During like heart attacks or like some...
somewhat, yes.
Arrhythmia or whatever.
Now, see, he's dipping into a lot of the stuff that my mom talks about because she does have AFib. She has like IHSS, sudden death syndrome, and stuff like that. And it's some pretty crazy science when you get into like total cardiac type stuff. Yeah. That's extremely interesting because it's almost like we've been tricked into thinking that
with the TV shows.
Yeah, with TV shows that you would shock a flatline.
With flatline, is that just
you just keep doing CPR? No, they're not necessarily done. It depends on what their underlying issue is, and that's kind of what once the medics get there are treating. trying to figure out what the problem is.
Huh.
So we have an algorithm that we go through and looking at different things.
Super interesting, dude.
Gotcha. Yeah. So essentially, just the chest compressions is what basically everybody should know.
At the very basics, you can definitely save someone's life by at least doing those compressions as soon as possible.
And the old school breathing, like how many compressions per breath do they?
30 to 2.
30 to 2 is your typical ratio you'll get taught.
See, I'm really paying attention over here. I want to save my child.
Is it worth even doing the breath at this point?
So if you have, we call it a barrier device or a mask you could utilize, you can give those breaths, but again, just by doing those compressions and focusing on that, and then honestly the second thing, finding an AED or having someone find one nearby can make a big difference to this person.
And then the shot, like I know at like our gym that used
Michael
to go
has
there,
one, yeah.
There's one there, and there's like one at Publix and stuff. Can anybody just use that? Is there instructions on it?
So when you actually pull out of the box, it talks to you. It walks you through every step. And the number one step we tell people in our classes is the first thing you want to do is turn it on. And after that, it'll walk you through everything else. It'll tell you how to put the pads on. It depends what brand you buy.
Yeah, I wonder what voice is...
Do you have to yell clear so no one else gets shocked?
Yes, that's very important. And it'll tell you that usually on the AED because you can't harm somebody if someone's touching the patient and they shock them.
Would it be like a taser or would it be like
it's a lot worse. So typically they shock at 360 joules. And I'm not sure what that relates to a taser, but it's a lot, and it can definitely harm somebody.
That's a lot of joules.
Yeah, it is.
360.
Yeah, I wish I had 360 joules. yeah. Spearmint flavor, please. All right, thanks a lot, Trump.
So let's
banning all the good flavors.
So now with a baby, how different is it?
Again, just doing
you're gonna have smaller hands.
No,
so you gotta put on the tiny hands.
Change out the hands. No, so for a baby, we typically just use 2 fingers around that same area for the chest.
Okay, let me go.
That's traditionally what I used through high school too.
I'm very sorry. So all right, I got the baby.
Wait, you don't put it... Oh, I guess you could put it in your lap.
So it's best to have it on a flat surface, like a hard flat surface.
Okay, so
if possible, or the floor, like a table.
So if I put the baby on the floor,
table.
I'm gonna put the baby on the floor. Here we go. Right. So I got baby on the floor, right? And the baby needs now choking. Obviously, this is not the time. But that's a Heimlich.
Right. So if it's a choking situation, once the baby comes unresponsive, we're going to give that CPR.
Quick, pour some White Claw in its mouth.
So, and the Heimlich with a baby, is it like a adult Heimlich?
No, it's a lot different. And if you want, I'll show you that after we do the compressions with them.
Do what you're told to do, Tom. CPR, not Heimlich.
I'm ADD. I like to just skip
He's like a million different things. No.
In my mind, I've already known how to do the compressions. I'm now on to something else. All right.
Do you go
Should I
full
shred the
hand
certs now? Or?
On the baby chest?
All right, here we go.
All right,
so yeah, two fingers.
2 fingers in the middle, between the nipples.
Yes, sir.
Now, middle index.
Yep.
Those are my powerful.
Yep.
They call my power fingers.
Yeah.
So,
well, I know you're a man.
And then, and then I
press down. And you'll feel that clicking sensation. That means you're going deep enough. So you want to go a little bit quicker once you see those 2 green lights pop up.
With the ball.
Okay, ball with the ball, the bang, biggie, biggie, said the boogie said up jump. The
best
boogie.
thing Kid Rock ever did. It works. I'm telling you, it works.
Okay.
Or maybe I'm just really good at tying douche songs to saving people's lives.
Okay.
So a little bit quicker on them.
All right, so if I'm green, I'm doing the right amount.
Do you want to actually have...
Don't do Bob with a Bob recorded. Do Bob with a Bob live.
Oh,
it's a little faster.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're saving
like 3.
You're saving. Oh, it's not turned red.
Okay, there it is.
It's spewing blood out of its eyes.
It's pretty fast. Okay.
Yes. And it's the same rate for an adult. There's no difference on that.
Okay, so this is it.
Somebody say, hey, we want some.
Okay. And is this actually...
You saved him. Yellow means warning.
All right.
Yeah, it's like he's okay.
So is that going to be close to the amount of pushback, or is this atomically somewhat accurate to what I'd feel?
Is that how hard you'd have to push on an actual
For a normal-sized person, yes. When you get into bigger people, it can be a little more difficult. But for a normal-sized person, it's pretty accurate.
Do you guys have any big, ginormous, big fat slob dummies?
Not yet. We should probably invest in some.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to buy one of those just to sit on the couch and dress up in different outfits.
Yeah, because I imagine if you are giving CPR to like a Big Tim, I mean, you're going to have to...
You're pressing hard.
I'm going to jump up and down on his couch. Right?
You're going to have to...
Jump on it.
Yeah, it's like a Jungle Book scenario, I feel like.
So that's it. So that...
we're heroes goes now.
As long as you keep the compression rate at that level, at that speed, 120 beats a minute, then that's all you need to know, right?
That's basic hands-only CPR.
So what about the Heimlich? Because that's what I've always been worried about. Daniel said the same thing.
Yeah.
Like
What'd you score on the Heimlich? You got like the lowest score out of all of us, right?
Oh yeah. I was down near Frank Gore.
Heimlich. And I was just above that. All right, Tom's getting back into his main chair. All right, there we go.
Because I'm literally, I still... Like
did a gun just fall out of your pants?
I don't know what that was.
I brought my CPR gun. That's for if I'm not successful, I'm like, we gotta before he turns, because I assume everything.
You gotta put one.
You get an air bazooka and poof, right in their mouth.
Yeah. All right.
So Heimlich,
because we're running out of time.
Yeah. What do we got?
All right. So real quick for Heimlich, if the baby's responsive and you can see it's choking, it's going to be kind of traumatizing here in a second. So you want to make sure you support the head. Use your leg.
Okay.
And you want to give 5 back blows.
Okay.
And then you rotate the baby over. And the same spot where you did the chest compressions, do 5 of those as well. And keep rotating back and forth.
So why are you doing chest compressions during a choking scenario? Because they stop breathing?
Well, not necessarily they stop breathing. They just can't breathe. So you're trying to get that object up. And while you're doing that, you want to have the baby's head kind of pointed down, kind of utilizing gravity. That makes sense?
So put the baby over your knee,
right?
Open its airway,
right?
And then
head slightly down.
5 back blows, and then 5 chest thrusts.
How hard?
Yeah, how hard are we hitting this thing?
It's going to seem traumatizing, but it's going to make a big difference.
Of course, yeah, because you want to dislodge the thing. You're trying to save the baby's life. So
think Kembo Slice, backyard bum fight punch.
Okay,
yeah, really go at it.
Because if you're trying to save your baby's life or a baby, who cares if they're bruised or that you injure them, you're saving their life.
You're trying to get the object out.
And then for an adult Heimlich, is it the under...
right at the belly button, usually, yeah.
The belly button, and then it's the pull-up very violently up.
Oh, so you go all the way down to the belly button?
Yes. You kind of pull up like as a thrust.
Like I usually anchor my fingers in the person's genitals area.
Groin area?
Yeah, and I really pull them into me. I call it the ghost ditto.
So, and I guess my final question is, have you ever done CPR on someone that was definitely going to die and then brought them back and they're normal after? Because I know I've talked to my buddy who's a paramedic and he teaches this stuff, and he's like, man, it's rare. I've done it before and the person's been 100% normal, but most of the time they suffer from some sort of oxygen loss to the brain and have to rehabilitate for a while, and then sometimes it's even worse. But have you seen
ending on a high note?
Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering. Reality.
I would agree with them. It's very rare to have someone have a full save where we look at it as them walking out of the hospital with no issues. And that's why we push that hands-on CPR pretty hard. Is by starting that early as possible can make a big difference. I would say it's probably like a 1 or 2% out of 100 usually.
Yeah,
but if you don't do 0%. It, that's 0.
Yeah,
because that's the case. So, if no one does it, then they don't have any chance whatsoever.
Right? Because I think when someone calls 911, it takes about a minute or 2 for the whole dispatch process, and average response times are 3 to 4 minutes for most big departments. So it takes a little bit of time for us to get there, even going lights and sirens and whatnot. So by starting those compressions as fast as possible can make a big difference.
Yeah, and it's not hard to do.
No, it's not.
No. So with a small amount of education, you could basically, once you know how to do it, you got it for life. And then if all of society knew how to do it, because I'm sure there's plenty of times. I mean, we even talked to someone on our last Friday Free Show that saw a BDM go into a lake, and then all people did is film with their phone. But if all society would help each other out, give us a better chance. So thanks, Chris.
Hey, man, thanks so much for coming in, and thanks to your department for letting you bring in some gear.
If someone wants to take a CPR class, it's easy. They give them away for free, right?
Some free. The hands-only CPR is definitely free across the nation. The easiest thing to do is get in touch with your local fire department or hospital. Usually, they offer classes multiple times a month.
Okay, cool.
For different prices and stuff.
That's awesome.
Well, I appreciate it, Chris. Thanks for being a good sport. Sorry we're joking around with this so much.
Babies.
It's,
you guys should have done the CPR on me. And I dressed like a baby.
Like, ow, too many beats.
Broke his cartilage.
That's fine.
Throw him in the bathroom. All right, guys, thanks so much for listening. We appreciate it, and we will see you tomorrow.